White. Wide open, Torrence! Oh, baby! Touchdown! How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do! Cat!
You're proud of me?
And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
Welcome all to Bankroll Blitz Season 3, Week 4. I am joined alongside my co-host, as always, the great Troy Torrence, and you certainly were great in Week 3. What a spectacular performance you had. 17-6 plus 14.3 units, Troy. You cashed with the Lions +6 plus 5.5 and the money line at +210. You cashed with the Browns +8.5 plus 8 plus 7.5 and the money line at +350, amongst others. Richly rewarded for your hard work. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing a lot better than I was last week on Tuesday after, we got out of the mud. I mean, we weathered the storm from last week and we kicked ass. We both did, man. And we did a hell of a job capping the card. I know some things didn't go our way, but ultimately I think we're headed in the right direction. And the cash cow market, man, I just can't stop thinking about it because I don't even know where to go, because being able to bet a money line confidently, a +210 money line confidently, is only because of the database. Like, I wouldn't be that confident. I'd probably just be taking the spread if I didn't see how that market has played out historically. It's just incredible what that market has done for us over the past few seasons.
It's amazing. Rolling through the 6, it's just been so hot throughout the beginning of the season here. Shout out to all the cappers joining us. We got Scott, Slim, Fabo in the house, Fabo in the house. We got Swiggy, AOD, Gerald Jones, Mac Beavers, Ken Wood, Big Daddy Boom, Londo in the house. Thank you guys so much for joining us right here on Pub Sports Radio. You had a spectacular week. I just had a good week. I mean, I'll take a good week any day of the week. Sorry, that's it's been a lot of numbers today. I'll take a good week every chance I can get. That's what I meant to say. Jared TG in the house. 13-9. I went plus 3.34 units. So I'm still in the red, and I don't think I'll be there for much longer, but still in the red. Had a bad preseason, my first bad preseason, and then had a bad week too. Green Bay, Cleveland, first half under 21.5 cash. Green Bay, Cleveland, full game under 42 cashed. The Texans, I was very wrong on the Texans and the Raiders. The Texans money line, I lost. Houston, Jacksonville over 21.5, I lost. Houston, Jacksonville, full game over 43.5, I lost. The Cardinals, I'm going to stop taking the money line in these situations and take whatever points are available for me from now on. Cardinals plus 112 was a loss. I cashed with them in the contest of plus 1.5. 49ers team total under 21.5 cashed. Chiefs double result cashed. Buffalo, Seattle, Kansas City parlay. That's a bet I would never have made had I not been working with you for the last 3 years. Cashed. Buffalo double result and Kansas City lost. Browns +8 cashed. Seattle double result cashed. Lions +5 cashed. Then I doubled down about 2 or 3 hours before game time on the +4.5. That cashed. Raiders lost. Raiders double result lost. My best work was in the Vikings, Cincinnati, Minnesota game. Vikings -3 cash. Cincinnati, Minnesota first half over 20.5 cash. And Cincinnati, Minnesota full game over 41.5 cash. New York, Tampa Bay first half under 21 lost. New York Jets, Tampa Bay full game under 43 lost. And I hit the Chiefs first half -0.5 -145. I did have just under 3 units. Now it counts as one here on the show because it's the same bet. You can only add a unit if it's a different bet. But I did have just under 3 units on the Chiefs double result. It was important. It was really, really important one for me. So record-wise, it was good. Cash flow-wise, it was great. But your week was spectacular. Buffalo double result. KC lost. One of only 6 losses for you. Your Colts, Buffalo parlay cash. Colts.
You missed Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill over 66.
Oh, I've got Tyreek Hill there. I hadn't separated the weeks.
Gotcha.
So I used Tyreek Hill at the bottom of my my action. Tyreek Hill over 66.5 lost. one of your 6 losses with the Buffalo double result in Kansas City. Colts -3 cashed. Colts Falcons money line parlay lost. Jets +7 cashed. Texans money line lost. Texans +2.5 lost. And then the Browns, the 8.5, 8, 7.5, and money line. Raiders +3.5 lost. And then Chargers -2.5. San Francisco, Arizona under 44.5 and under 44. Cash. Seahawks double result cash. Chiefs double result cash. Chiefs money line Seattle -1 cashed. Chiefs Houston +7.5 cashed. Again, that Tyreek Hill loss. And then the Lions 5.5, 6, and +210. But your record is now in a good spot. Mine isn't. Let's get right to work and fix that immediately. To all of you guys joining us, J-Dub, Jonathan, Yim, Mark Stasowski, Spooner, Slatsy, RVD 420. Yes, RVD, I forgot to give you a shout out for that great job on Thursday. Saw 5 teasers cash for you, man. It was great to see, my friend. Harold Williams says, let's get it. Let's do exactly that, and let's get to work. Before we start, thank you to our producer, Jose Bouquet, who works tirelessly, cuts all these videos up, and works tirelessly on our behalf. We start Thursday, September 25th, 48 hours from now, with the Seattle Seahawks 2-1, 1-0 on the road at the Arizona Cardinals 2-1, 1-0 home at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Let's get to the line history here to get us started, and then we'll go into the cash flow. From a line history standpoint, there has been a real move to the Arizona Cardinals from the opening line.
Wait.
I guess that's not entirely true. Now I look at.
No.
I guess there's been there's not been
monster move.
No, yeah,
monster move.
Yeah, I guess not. So the look ahead was the Cardinals -2.5. That was the look ahead, and then on Sunday day, this came out at a 2.5. Again, so the look ahead and the Sunday day was the same thing. This didn't move until Sunday night, 6:20 p.m. Eastern. Then we got the 1.5. Then we got the 1. Then this was a flat pick'em. Wow. I didn't realize it moved so heavily towards the Seahawks. Seahawks are now -1.5 and -110. A big move towards the Seattle Seahawks. Wow. From a total standpoint here, we have a 43.5. This opened up at 40. The look ahead was 44. Opened up at 43.5. Jumped up on Sunday night to 44, then back to 43.5. Cash flow wise, we have 79% of the tickets. Now it's 77. Just changed. 77% of the tickets, 73% of cash on the Seattle Seahawks. 61% of tickets on the over and 58% cash on the over. Jared TG beat that line easily, catching Seahawks +1.5. Harold Williams with an early lean towards the Cardinals. Tom Leach, Seahawks +1, also has them in teasers. The Seahawks come in off a very easy 44-13 victory at home over the Saints on Sunday. They only outgained the Saints 320-284, but they were in complete control, up 21-0 after the first quarter, up 38-6 at the half. Sam Darnold was a sort of like when Josh Allen is in complete control, and you look at his stats after the game, you're like, well, 14 of 18, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He finished with the second highest quarterback rating in franchise history, 154.2. Jackson Smith-Njigba was questionable with the flu. He caught 5 passes for 96 yards and a touchdown. Mike McDonald was talking about how he came back from the dead and how impressed he is with them. Seahawks didn't get much from the rush game. Kenneth Walker ran 16 times for 38 yards, but he did score 2 touchdowns. Zach Charbonnet was out with a foot injury, so George Halani backed up Walker, running 10 times for 27 yards while losing a fumble. Charbonnet has been taken off the injury report, so Charbonnet is a full go for Thursday. The offensive line was excellent, didn't allow a sack. Is that the work of a strong offensive line, or were they playing an extremely weak pass rush in the Saints? Seahawks were just 3 of 9 on third down, but they were 4 of 5 in the red zone. I suspect that's what we get from the Seahawks this year, where if they're in a 3rd and 6 or a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 situation, that their conversion rate will be light. But in the red zone, with Darnold and his poise and his calm and the way he's playing right now, I expect them to be very good. This is the last week I won't have. I wait for the first 4 weeks for red zone stats and third down stats. I think it can be too skewed depending on who your competition is. So I always wait 4 weeks. The special teams were excellent. Torrey Horton delivered the longest punt return in Seahawks history, 95 yards. They also blocked. He didn't, but they also blocked the first quarter punt. The defense looked strong. They held the Saints to 5 of 17 on 3rd and 4th down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. New Orleans didn't reach the end zone until the beginning of the fourth quarter. The pass rush sacked Rattler twice and hit him 8 times. Darian Kendrick had an interception for the second straight game, along with a team-high 3 passes defended. He's been filling in for Devon Witherspoon. So he was claimed off waivers a month ago from the Rams. What a job he's doing. Witherspoon, of course, did not play. Safeties Julian Love and Nick Emenwari also sat out. All 3 are questionable this week. Let's start with the Seattle Seahawks here, Troy, because I don't care about what we saw against the Saints. And so this big move towards them here on the road, at State Farm, and there are some injury issues that the Cardinals are dealing with, but I'm not really drinking the syrup here. I'm certainly not going to go up against it. But what have the Seahawks done really to deserve going from dog to favorite in a divisional battle on the road? I don't know if they've done enough for me. Have they done enough for you?
Well, a lot of my conviction in this game is predicated on the market and this short line. I'll get to that towards the end of this cap. But looking at Sam Darnold, he's currently grading out as the number 1 quarterback in the league. We know he's not the number 1 quarterback in the league, and that reflects more of the teams he's played, the strength of schedule, than it does his actual ability to play quarterback. They lost to the 49ers for week 1. They could have easily won that game, probably should have won that game. But if you remember back to that game, and after that game, what did I say? I was talking about how there was no usage of play action, and Sam Darnold, that's where he's eaten. Or that's where he definitely ate when he was playing for Minnesota. So fast forward 2 more weeks, and now you're seeing Sam Darnold dropping back, or, having over 30% of his attempts being from the play action. And I think that's reflected in his numbers and how good he's been over the past few weeks. I think that the difference between these 2 teams is quarterback play and defense. Sam Darnold, after week 1, we've seen a massive change. I think that's a lot predicated on how they changed the scheme. And he has an evenly balanced spray chart, too. You don't see this. He's a very veteran quarterback. You could tell by looking at his spray chart and looking at where he's having success. You're going to have to work with me a little bit because I'm a little under the weather right now. But and he's got the number 1 passer grade under pressure per PFF. So there's a lot of things I like about Sam Darnold. There's a lot of things I like about the offense, and there's a lot of things I like about the matchup for this defense. So I didn't know this, but after watching that game, because I was pretty heavily invested in the Seahawks, I noticed that they were playing my favorite coverage, which is cover 4, cover 6, a little bit of cover 2, and that allows you to insert a safety into the box, and that's not going to be good. That's not where Kyler Murray has excelled in the past. His yards per attempt versus this type of coverage drops by 1.7 yards, and his EPA per dropback gets cut in half. So I think there's a good matchup for this Seahawks team in this game.
Certainly the market feels the same way here. Gerald Jones says NFC West under. Well, you're going to hear the moves that Troy has made as soon as we talk about the Cardinals side of things. Tom Leach says the Cardinals are a dumpster fire, but Man Bear Pig and Drewski are on the Cards money line, while Scott is on the Seahawks money line and the Seahawks +1. Cardinals coming off a tough 16-15 loss to San Francisco. They were outgained 355-260 in the loss. Kyler Murray was 22 of 35 for 159 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 6 times for 37 yards. Trey Benson led the ground game with 10 carries, 42 yards because RB1 James Conner is done with a season-ending foot injury in the first half. Marvin Harrison had 3 catches for 44 yards. He also had an egregious drop. He was all alone. It was a clear 65, 70-yard touchdown. There was no one near him, and he just flat out dropped it. I was expecting him to, when a wide receiver makes a mistake like that, they often will come back later in the game, dig deep and show their worth. He didn't really do that. It certainly cost me money. It was as egregious a drop as it was worse than the CeeDee Lamb drop early in the year. It's the worst drop I've probably seen, but it hurts more when you're invested in the spot. I had to leave. I had to walk. I had to go for a walk after that. I sent you a message. It was just drop after drop, and I couldn't handle it anymore. And I left for a little bit. Because clear my head a little bit so I didn't smash it. Trey McBride caught 5 passes for a touchdown, but the offense looked very pedestrian. They finished 5 of 15 on third down, just 1 of 3 in the red zone. The defense was strong. It gave them an opportunity to win. I mean, I don't care that much. I mean, you have to stop a game-winning drive from Mac Jones. But they held the 49ers to 2 of 10 on third down, 1 of 4 in the red zone. The pass rush finished with 1 sack. They did have 8 quarterback hits, and Dadrian Taylor-Demerson had an interception. Look, I mean, where is it? So would you say then that it's tougher at this point to go into Pittsburgh like Seattle did and beat Pittsburgh on the road than it is to go into Arizona and beat Arizona on the road?
I don't know. Based on, we're going to talk about this team next. I'm not a big believer in Pittsburgh either. I think both of these two teams have had a easy strength of schedule. Both teams lost to the 49ers. The only difference in that game was Purdy was in a healthier 49ers team against the Seahawks than was against the Cardinals. Now, obviously, there's some things that went wrong. The Cardinals should have won that game. So should the Seahawks. I do think that there is some truth to that, Jimmy. But I do think that the strength of schedule for the Cardinals was significantly weaker, maybe a little bit less so after that 30-point blowout. But the Panthers kind of stick out to me as the weak link in the schedule analysis.
This is I don't see this as easy as a lot of others do. You know, Birdie here says, I'm on the Seahawks. Power rankings have not caught up on the Seahawks yet. There's so much value on them this week. Their starters did not play in the fourth quarter. All injured guys most likely back. Alternate line this. Wager Detective looking at Arizona plus 1.5. Birdie says Seahawks offense is just fine, getting better and better every game. Their offensive line is severely underrated. I don't know why I'm not on an under already. I'm not entirely sure why that is. Is that, I mean, it's not as if, you know, State Farm Stadium is, you know, I do get concerned when we get indoors. I do love the NFC West unders outdoors, but it's not been a problem in State Farm Stadium. Tell us how you have bet our Thursday nighter, Troy.
Yeah, I want to touch on the market too, because that's at the end of the day, the X's and O's are great, but a lot of my bets are predicated on the market. I need a comfortable market environment, especially to move as much as I moved on this game. So I'm going to read off of just a couple of ways I sliced this market up. Home teams opening up between, I guess I'll flip it. Road teams open between -2.5. Excuse me. I'm going to flip this back the other way. When home team opens between -2.5 and -1, and the market moves towards the road team in division, the road team is 13-6 straight up ATS and to the under. In the first 10 weeks, that improves to 7-3 ATS straight up and 6-4 to the under. And on prime time, 3-1 straight up ATS, 2-2 on the total. Let's go a little bit deeper. Divisional road favorites between -1 and -1.5. What we're currently looking at right now, 15-4 straight up in ATS, 14-5 to the under. And I could continue to go down, expanding the range in between the twos, and I could just continue to spew out a bunch of trends that favor the road team in this market and favor the under in a significant way. And also the trend on the road team teaser, even in the current standing, but they're just winning outright at this point. It doesn't make much sense to not be able to tease above the 7.5. But I did do a teaser. I did a Seahawks Falcons 6-point teaser. No, that's not available anymore. So I don't know how much that matters. But I also have the Seahawks money line -107 and the under 43.5 -110. But I'm very confident in the teaser leg as well at 7.5.
Seahawks -1.5. Is that right? At -110?
Correct. No. Seahawks money line -107. But I'll take, you could give me whatever's available.
That's -107. And then what was the teaser that you bet?
Teaser was Seahawks plus 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
And the Atlanta Falcons plus 8.5.
Now, one thing about, we watched the Panthers destroy the Falcons, and of course, we'll get into that game. Does that change how Arizona dominated them until they took their foot off the gas, up 27 to, I think it was 6? And the Panthers came back into the game late because they just took their, I mean, with that first half or 3 quarters, does that change the way you look at that game because of what Carolina did to Atlanta, a team that you think is you bet them to win over 7.5 games.
It certainly does. It definitely changes my opinion on it. But I mean, you just look at the box score of that game. It's not like the Panthers did really much at all. They just let the Falcons continue to shoot themselves in the foot. I think they had like 114 total yards, and they won 30-0 on 114 total yards. It was something egregious like that. And I do. It does matter. It does matter. I just don't know to what extent. And to be honest, if the market wasn't this strong, I would have went back and rewatched that Falcons Cardinals, or that Falcon. I watched that. I would have went back and watched the Cardinals Panthers game to get a better understanding of what happened in that game, because I had no action on it and I didn't rewatch it after the fact. So that's definitely the thorn in my side right now, if anything.
Well, I see the steam to Seattle. I see it. I'm aware of it. I see you on Seattle. I see Great Cappers in the chat on Seattle. I see Great Cappers on the chat and on the other side. I'm going to sit with this for longer. I know
what about the under, Jimmy? What about the under?
Something just makes me feel a little uncomfortable. I don't, and it's a mistake. I know they just go under every time that the NFC West plays each other, but something about this game is just, maybe it was the professionalism and the ease the Seahawks offense worked with, combined with how good the Cardinals offense looked until they took their foot off the gas against the Carolina defense that just shut out the Falcons. So I need to sit with this longer. It's not that I won't get on the under. One thing that we see about these NFC West unders that cash nonstop is they move 2.5 points from the opening line. They move right away. You know, this is just sitting there at 43.5, a half-point move to the under. I'm going to need to sit with this all a little bit longer. I understand what's happening, and I just need to sit with it longer. Troy has moved on 3 spots. Seahawks money line, Seahawks plus 7.5, Falcons plus 8.5, and the other 43.5. And we roll on to our next spot on the board, Dublin game in Dublin, Ireland. But before we do, shout out to our friend WT, gifting a $20 dono to bless our week 4 action. WT, it means a ton. He says the Jungle Bar Leche girls are eating. Eres famoso. Thank you, WT, man. I'm very, very thankful to cap with you, my friend. And thank you for the support. Let's head to Dublin, Ireland. Beautiful weather on Sunday. 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. local time. 58 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 5-mile-per-hour winds, Vikings, Steelers. Much like what we just talked about on the Thursday nighter, we have a mighty powerful move towards the Minnesota Vikings. This look ahead was the Vikings +1. Then before the games took place, it opened up at a 2.5. After the games took place, and when before the games took place, you know, it was available between 2.5, 2, kind of fooling around. And then after we saw the Vikings dominate, absolutely dominate, it moved to +1. And that didn't last long. That lasted 10 minutes when they reopened the line. And it went from +1 to -1.5 that fast. Then there was a little bit of buyback down to a -1. Then this got up to a -3. This was a -3 yesterday morning. So Monday morning, this was a -3. Now it was, you know, pretty heavily juiced towards the Steelers. Right now it's a -2.5, heavily juiced to the Vikings. So you can pay for a 3 or a 2.5, depending on what side that you're on. From a total perspective here, we have a 41. The look ahead was a 41.5. It came out at 40.5, and it's climbed a half point to 41. When we get to the cash flow here, we have 64% of the tickets, 63% of the cash on Pittsburgh, 83% of the tickets, and 94% of cash on the over. Thank you guys so much for joining us here. We got Rich H, Just My 2 Cents, Terry Walker, Nasty Nate, a bunch of great friends and cappers here in the chat. Thank you for supporting us here. Vikings coming off an impressive 48-10 victory over the Bengals. It was their most lopsided victory since 1998, their highest score since 2015. They were up 34-3 at the half. I got to cash everything here. And it was so simple to me moving on the Vikings. One, you couldn't possibly buy them any lower. This was going to be the lowest possible point all year to buy the Vikings. And two, the Bengals defense is so horrific that points were going to be scored. It was pretty simple. It didn't take a lot to get there. Although I wasn't there on Tuesday. It kind of came throughout the week. They outgained the Bengals 352 to 171. Carson Wentz, and we heard from Dennis Garcia, he raised the Vikings a half point in the power rankings with Wentz at quarterback compared to J.J. McCarthy. And Wentz proved it. 6 teams, 6 years. Doesn't matter. He won 14-20 for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. McCarthy dealing with an ankle injury is already being ruled out for this one. Justin Jefferson caught 5 passes for 75 yards. T.J. Hawkinson caught 5 for 49 and a touchdown. And with Aaron Jones on IR, Jordan Mason was incredible. 16 carries for 116 yards. The Vikings were just 4 of 12 on third down, but went 4 of 5 in the red zone. Isaiah Rodgers was incredible, returned 2 interceptions for touchdowns, caused 3 of the 5 turnovers. The pass rush was strong, finished with 4 sacks and 9 quarterback hits. Javon Hargrave left the game with a chest injury. He's listed as questionable this week. We've heard already from KOC that he would have returned if the game was closer. So he's expected to be good to go. Josh Metellus also had an interception. They held them to 3 of 11 on third down and gave them 1 red zone opportunity. Big news was left tackle Christian Darrisaw returned 11 months after tearing his ACL and MCL. And Harrison Smith made his season debut. He did deflect a pass, that Isaiah Rodgers picked off. It was because of his deflection. Steelers coming off a 21-14 win at New England. I was very thankful that I just listened to you guys. I told you how I wanted New England. A lot of you guys said that was the wrong decision to make, and I stayed off. But the Steelers were outgained 369 to 203, and they benefited off winning the turnover battle 5-1. So it's not a real
5-1.
5-1,
and they struggled.
Yeah,
pull up that W.
Aaron Rodgers threw for 139 yards. I mean, it was not pretty, and none of his passes are going. He's not stretching any defenses. 16 to 23, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. Calvin Austin led receivers with 3 catches for 34 yards and a touchdown. DK Metcalf caught 3 for 32 and a touchdown. Jalen Warren ran 18 times for 47 yards. He caught 5 for 34 yards. They were 4-9 on the third down, but they were a perfect 3 of 3 in the red zone. And that's, Aaron Rodgers. He's able to hurt you in those areas. The defense looked much better. I mean, they forced 4 fumbles. Pass rush looked much better. They're led by TJ Watt, 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Held the Patriots at 2 of 4 in the red zone. Brandon Eccles had an interception here. So I don't want to buy the Vikings high, but I know that what we saw the Steelers do last week was not, and could give us the noise score at PFF. I imagine Patriots, according to that score, would have won the game. I don't want the Vikings now. I'm going to buy low and sell high, but do I want the Steelers? Troy Torrence, the NFL Dublin Game, take it away.
Yeah, I have to go get that. That's one I don't have here, and that's something I want to check out. What did PFF have for that? I'll have to turn back around. Oh, here we go. I got it. I found it. So the PFF noise canceled score was 21-19 in favor of the Patriots. So it was still, it was a very closely contested game. The books were spot on with the price of the game. And I'm in the same bet as you. I did not want to buy the Vikings high. I thought I'd ended up being on the Steelers in this game. The 2-, especially the Vikings coming off a game against the 2-0 Bengals that should have been 0-2. Carson Wentz, clearly an upgrade from J.J. McCarthy, but it was easy to perform in that environment that he was gifted versus an easy defense at home, playing with the lead. And despite that, he still wasn't grading out very well. And if you go back and watch the tape, there were some things he did that I don't think we would have seen from McCarthy that were good, but there was also some things that we wouldn't see from McCarthy that were bad. The Bengals just could not stop turning over the ball. Neither could the Patriots against both teams these two opponents played were just turning it over at will. I just can't help to think back, like when I'm starting to cap this game, I can't stop but thinking back to what happened in week 1 with the Steelers against the Jets when they were blitzing Rodgers at a 50+% clip and they were just getting picked apart. We know Flores, his defense is predicated on the blitz. Are we going to see a change in the scheme for this matchup? I would expect that to be the case, but And I've usually been right with making these assumptions, but not always, especially with Flores. Flores is a wild card. I don't really know what the hell I'm going to get from him. And under Tomlin, the Steelers have played man coverage at the highest rate in the league. Played man coverage at a higher rate than the league average. Excuse me. Yeah, I know they weren't playing at the highest rate in the league. Up 6% this season from 49% last season. I think they look at their two corners and they're like, hey, we got great corners. We played more man coverage, and that just hasn't worked out. These corners are aging. Ramsey and Slay. They played zone coverage on 3rd and long versus Drake, man. They got exposed when they did that. And Wentz has historically struggled more against man coverage, so that maybe is a little bit in the favor of the Steelers. But I don't think the Steelers have the personnel to play man coverage. I mean, those corners are aging, 31 and 36 years old. I think that this game's going to come down to who's going to win in the trenches. Look at the Vikings. The only competent rushing attack they played was the Falcons, and the Falcons ran the ball for 6 yards per carry and over 200 yards. The only competent rush defense that they played was the Falcons, and they ran the ball for less than 4 yards per carry. The offensive line, though, however, is grading out 10th in pass block and 5th in the run block category. Flip it over to the Steelers. They have yet to run the ball for over 3.5 yards per carry. They got outrushed by all three opponents so far this season, and that's against weak competition. Their O-line is grading out significantly worse than the Steelers. And parlay that with Rodgers, who has the lowest ADOT in the league by far and a lack of weapons. It's a recipe for disaster. You could just put 8 in the box. You could force them to try to beat you over the top, have the safety shade over the top of DK Metcalf. And I feel like it's a pretty easy formula for a defensive coordinator to figure out the Steelers' offense. They barely beat the Patriots despite 5 turnovers. They got outgained by 1.1 yards per play against the Patriots team. I think this Vikings team is better than any team the Steelers team has seen thus far this season. I wanted to find a way on the Steelers. I couldn't get there. Clear coaching advantage in favor of the Vikings, a trench advantage in favor of the Vikings, and a wash at QB, I'd say, because I am not impressed with either of these quarterbacks, to be honest. And maybe I give Rodgers a slight upper hand, but not much. I just can't get behind the Steelers team that has no offensive prowess and are just publicly overvalued, in my opinion, because of their defense on paper and because of Tomlin. I bet the Vikings minus 2.5 at minus 115.
The Vikings minus 2.5 at minus 115 for Troy. I'm simply not going to believe what I saw from Carson Wentz last week. It's that simple. I don't want the Steelers. I don't want the Steelers at all. Our guy Gorky is on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Shout out to Gorky. Thank you for the $5 dono, my man. He's got the Steelers money line here in this one. As you know, Birdie saying that his model loves the Vikings. Flores D versus the Pitt O-line is a major mismatch. Mini wins running away. I am interested in, and we also, of course, as our guy Spenny talked about, Jordan Addison returning, giving another weapon for the Vikings. I just, all year long, I'm not going to buy high. I'm not going to buy high. And but
you could sell high.
That's true.
Steelers team should be 0-3.
That's true. That's true. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this football game. And this total opening up so low, I'm sure that appeals to over bettors. The look ahead was 41.5. So now we're at a 40.5 or 41.
There's a reason I didn't touch on the market either, and it's because there's no home road dichotomy in this game. So I don't put much value in analyzing the market as I usually do.
I just am not going to believe what I saw with the Vikings. So as much as I understand that the Vikings, are a better football team than the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point in the season, after them destroying Cincinnati and feeling so good about themselves, it's just not how I want to back.
Oh man, and I got another point. What I'm hearing about, I'm reading the chat, and I seen really wanted to bet against Pitt this week, but betting Wentz in London is not my cup of tea. That cup of tea and crumpets out there in London is going to be delicious for these guys. But remember when Aaron Rodgers went to London and played with the Jets out there? That was an abomination of football. It was the worst quarterback play I've seen all last season. So maybe, he has more familiarity with I could see you making a case for that or against that, because now you could say he's going back for his round 2 in London and he should be able to perform better. Or you could say he's just a bum and he's even worse in London.
Well, I have interest in the under. I don't know if this would be a double up spot. That's what I've been preferring to do with all my unders these days is take them first half and full game, not split a unit up, but put a unit on each. I do not believe what I saw from the Vikings offense, and I don't want the Steelers. So that means that I think I want to focus on a total, and then I could focus on the Steelers team total under, but I kind of want to mess, and I almost never take dog team total unders unless I really expect nothing out of them. So I'm going to need a little bit more time on this. I expect to move on an under here. I'm very curious to see what happens with this market. I don't feel like you need to move too quickly here. So there we go. Scott looking at the under as well. Man Bear Picks says, I don't see how he could back the Vikings in this spot. Says, doesn't Rodgers have some experience with these international games? He does. Scott says he doesn't care where it's played. He is on the under. And Troy has moved on the Vikings -2.5. Let's roll on. Next spot on the board here, we have the Washington Commanders at the Atlanta Falcons. Commanders 2-1, 0-1 on the road at the Falcons, 1-2, 0-1 at home at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. This was a game that I was extremely wrong about. There was cappers who were very confident in Marcus Mariota in the chat. A quarterback who hasn't started the game since 2022. I was astonished at how good he looked. Astonished. He looked very, very good, and I lost money. It was a costly football game for me. I had 2 units because I had the double result as well. I was just so wrong, so appallingly wrong. This total is a 45.5. It opened up at 45. There was no look ahead here at this book that we are using. And then because of the quarterback questions around whether Jaden Daniels will play, obviously. And then from a point spread here, we have a big move towards Atlanta. And the move towards Atlanta happened today at about 1 p.m. The 2.5 down to a 1 must be implying that Daniels is not going to play. I looked into that information. We haven't received that yet. It could just be sharp action, expecting Jaden Daniels not to play. It's obviously a buy low spot for Atlanta. If I knew right now that Marcus Mariota would be under center, I would hammer the Falcons. Yes, I was wrong at home, but now let's see him on the road. And I don't want to place that bet in case Jaden Daniels is in. I am saying, Quinn said yesterday. So, and Terry McLaren, yes, we're going to go over the Washington injury report here. Donut Silk says Falcons money line for me. The kid says bounce back Falcons spot at home. I agree completely.
That's my guy right there, the kid.
Shout out to the kid. I agree completely, but there's no chance I move on this before then there's an announcement. I'm not going to sit here and have the opportunity for a much bigger money line and a much bigger number. I mean, much bigger is a little much. The money line would be much bigger, but the spread might not move that much. But I'm just not going to do it.
Jimmy, what do you got cash flow in this game? This is one I don't have any information.
Let's pull it up here for the cash flow.
One's important. This is important here.
65% of the tickets on Atlanta and 51% of the cash.
On Atlanta?
That's the board. But if we go over to, because we don't have any information on the total, if I go over to Action Network instead, we have on the money line 71% of the tickets and 95% of the cash on the Commanders. Again, they're saying they've counted 9,738 tickets. The longer I've worked with this site, I've stopped using it. The spread has 69% of the tickets and 51% of the cash on the Commanders. And then there's 67% of tickets and 91% cash on the under. So Washington comes in off an impressive 41-24 victory at home over the Raiders with Marcus Mariota, quarterback. The offense looked very strong. I mean, 7.4 yards per play. It's his first start since 2022. He was 15 for 21, 207 yards in the touchdown. He also ran 6 times for 40 yards in a touchdown, and he did lose a fumble, but he was rolling before that fumble. Jaden Daniels remains day-to-day with a knee injury, so he is questionable. Scott says Commanders feel sneaky. I think if you back a team that just lost 30-0 to whom, a bottom 3 team in the league, backing them is the more sneaky play. I mean,
so the perceived worst team in the league.
Yeah. So backing Washington to me isn't sneaky at all. It seems like I'd be fading the public here, but that hasn't, we can't verify that at this point. McLaurin caught 3 passes for 74 yards, and then he left the game with a quad injury. So he's listed as questionable this week. The ground game was massive. The Commanders put up 174 yards on the ground in the first half, just the first half. McNichols ran 4 times for 78 yards and a touchdown. He'd been dealing with a groin and hamstring injuries, so he looked great. He'd never had a run or a reception that gained more than 28 yards in 8 seasons before he, went the distance. 5 of 10 on third down, 2 of 3 in the red zone. The defense looked good. They held the Raiders to just 3 of 14 on third down. The pass rush was strong. They finished with 5 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. The Raiders did go 2 of 3 in the red zone, but the Commanders were in control all game long. This defense still hasn't produced a single turnover, the Commanders defense. They lose Eckler for the season last week. Noah Brown is out. Receiver Noah Brown with groin and knee injuries. He missed Sunday. They also, and this worked, they replaced their guards Nick Allegretti and Brandon Coleman. They benched them. They replaced them with Andrew Wiley and Chris Paul. And then Trent Scott became the 6th offensive lineman to take pressure off, keep people fresh. It worked. They did lose Will Harris to a leg injury, their safety. He's been placed on IR. Percy Butler, another safety, has a hip injury, and cornerback Trey Amos has a calf injury. They both left the game. They're listed as questionable this week. I really want the Falcons here. I want them badly. But it just, if I think that Jaden Daniels could play, now I'm not certain what his mindset would be. Does he, want to get back in there? Doesn't, could he be jealous or uncomfortable how good Mariota looks? I doubt that. Does he now think Mariota is strong enough to give me another week of rest? Like, I'm not sure where he is mindset-wise. Atlanta suffered an embarrassing 30-0 loss at Carolina on Sunday. I knew right away that I wanted to back them this week. They outgained the Panthers 334 to 224. So they outgained them by 108, yet somehow never set foot in the red zone. Losing the turnover battle 3-1 didn't help. Penix was 18 of 36 for 172 yards, 2 interceptions, was pulled for Kirk Cousins late, but Penix is starting here. Drake London led receivers with 5 catches for 55, and Darnell Mooney had 4 for 44. Bijan Robinson had 13 carries for 72 yards, caught 5 for 39. They were 5 of 13 on third down. They were the defense tried to keep them in it, but broke down late. They held the Panthers to 3 of 11 on third down, but allowed them to go 2 of 3 in the red zone. The pass rush was nowhere to be found. Finished 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. A.J. Terrell missed the game with a hamstring injury. He's listed as questionable this week. They play safety Jordan Fuller on IR after their week 2 win at Minnesota. So now there's no Jordan Fuller, and we don't know if there's going to be A.J. Terrell. Take it away for us here, Troy. Our next spot on the board, Commanders, Falcons.
Oh, man, there's a lot to talk about with this game. I'll try to keep it short-winded, but there is a lot. I mean, I just want to start by saying this because this is a preface to every game, and I would, if you really believe in what I'm doing with the market efficiency database, there's really 3 markets you could never dismiss. The cash cow, where you open 6 or higher and close below the 6. Home teams in division between +2 and -2 do not win games. And any team catching 3.5 points. So the fact that I was on the Raiders after spewing that for all week last week and all week this season, being on the Raiders +3.5 and taking the L the way I did, just in spite of, the fact that I think this Commanders team is overvalued. And guess what? Mariota made me eat my words. He took care of business. The noise adjusted score was 33-26, a little bit closer, but it really wasn't. If you take away the fourth quarter and some of the garbage time. And, Mariota made me eat my words, and so was Penix, because I had belief in this kid coming into the season. He has been significantly better at home. by any sense, any way you want to measure performance, but he did look like the worst quarterback in the league last game. But my entire premise for this Commanders team remains. They're going to be a successful offense. Their defense is going to be amongst the bottom of the league. And so far, the only really quality team that they've played, they've gotten pretty much destroyed and embarrassed against. The Commanders' defense, quality in the box, good grades in both run D and pass rush, but the absolute worst coverage unit in the NFL. The only team with that grade out below 40, and that's pretty embarrassing. And all this versus a mixed bag of opponents, because you got the Packers mixed in there, you got the Giants and Raiders. The Commanders' offense, I mean, you got quality QB play. I think it all starts with the play calling. Great play caller over there with Cliff. Great weapons, but a little bit slightly below average offensive line that I was lower on. That's kind of proven me wrong. Flip it over to the Falcons side of the ball, and you touched on it, man. I mean, they had 332 total yards of offense that resulted in 0 points, and not one drive, not one time did this team enter the red zone. It doesn't get any more embarrassing than that. I mean, so let's look at yards per carry. They averaged 5.7. The Panthers, 3.7. They lost 30-0. They averaged 5 yards per play against 4 yards per play from the Panthers. They lost by 30. And Penix, I mean, he posted the worst grade in week 3, and it's not even close, against one of the worst defenses in the league. Finally, he had some turnover-worthy plays. He hadn't had it in the first 2 weeks. Both of them resulted in touchdowns. His ADOT has fallen off a cliff. That's not a good sign. Clearly looks less comfortable than he did in the short stint last year. Now, he does look better at home. I did mention that. And all this with the offensive line that's posting grades in the top 10 in both the run block and pass block categories. So there's definitely some issues with this Falcons offense. The part of this team that I thought was going to be strong. But, for as bad as their offenses look, the Falcons defense has, beat the expectations to offset a lot of that. I'm very surprised with what we've seen, especially in the box, especially on the defensive line. In the secondary, they come up with timely plays. I thought that the secondary would be their strong suit, but it looks like it's going to be their weak suit, but they still do come up with timely plays. I feel like this is the epitome of buying high and selling low. I had not moved on the side yet, but you got the Falcons getting blown out by 30 points against the Panthers. Teams off of 30-point losses historically have been extremely profitable. And the Commanders are coming off a blowout win themselves. The matchup isn't as bad as you might think. The Falcons zone-heavy defense, good matchup versus mobile quarterbacks. A perfect secondary for Penix to bounce back if the offensive line continues to hold up. And the Falcons is good at stopping the run. So I expect this to be a very closely contested game. I did talk about the teaser that I had with the Falcons 8.5, Seahawks 7.5, but I am definitely interested in taking the Falcons on the side straight.
I want to triple up. I want the Falcons team total over. I want the Falcons money line. I want the Falcons double result. I want to invest heavily in them. But again, I'm not going to do that now.
Why not?
Because if Jaden Daniels is announced in, then the line, I look like a fool. And I don't care about looking like a fool. I don't get the best line that I could bet. I would rather take a worse line when they announce Jaden Daniels is out. At least I'm now making
right. You take a money line right now, whatever the price is, or you take a money line minus 115.
I'd rather take a worse line with knowing the information than I could bet 1 unit on it now or something like this. But I want to, like you said, this is exactly the wheelhouse that I've been talking about for the last few years in NFL. For me, it's my favorite spot.
I'm doing it, Jimmy. I'm doing it. I'm taking them right now. I'm taking the money line, and I could get a plus 100 right now.
And you're not going to mind if Jaden Daniels is in and that is a plus 130?
You think it gets plus 130? That'd be a 2.5. That'd be like a 2.75. I guess that was probably what it would be. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it'd be quite that much. I just want, if that is okay for you, then go for it.
Okay, let me ask you this then, Jimmy. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So for the show record-keeping purposes, if I'm betting the money line on both, because I already have the teaser, would I be able to override the plus 100 with the plus 130?
Well, no, it'd be a second bet, a second unit.
But it would just be on the money line. It would be the same bet.
Yeah, but you can, when the line changes, you can bet it again.
Okay. I'll add to it. I have no problem with that. I'm on the Falcons money line right now, plus 100.
Yeah, I can't do it yet.
Oh wait, is there might be something better. I don't have the
Our guy Kyle Kerms in the house from the Sauce Network says great Lions hit last night. It was fun. Very, very fun. Now, some of us hit it harder than others. I had the +5 and +4.5, but Troy had the +5.5, +6, and the +210 money line. Big balls dangling around. So
Jimmy, I got +112 on the Falcons.
+112. So maybe Jaden Daniels is announced out. That line moves to like a -118, -120, and you were right. For me, I just want to have the knowledge here. Maybe I could put a unit in right now, but I'm gonna wait. I want to know who I'm fading because the reward should be different. Fading Marcus Mariota after he looked spectacular in his first start since 2022, sure. Fading Jaden Daniels is something with the team that just lost 30-0 to the bottom 3 team in the league. You should be rewarded for financially, and I'm gonna hold off. But it'll be Falcons team total over. It'll be Falcons money line. It'll be Falcons double result, and I'm not moving on it until we find out from Jaden Daniels. There was rumors that he was trying to start last week, and so wouldn't that mean he'd be in here? We need to spend a little bit more time. I need the info, but I respect what you are doing, Troy, already on the Falcons. I will be on them soon. Let's roll on. Next up for us, we have 1 p.m. Eastern. New Orleans Saints 0-3, 0-1 on the road. At the Buffalo Bills, 3-0, 2-0 at home. We're at Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. Beautiful, beautiful weather on Sunday. 69 Fahrenheit, sunny, 2-mile-per-hour winds. That beautiful weather will go away, but it is here right now. Let's get into the line history here for Saints Bills. We have a 16.5. That's what we're talking about right here. The look ahead was 16. It was actually moving towards the Saints. This got down to about a 14.5 before the game was played. When this came back out at 6:30 p.m., it was a 17. It's moved a half point, or now it's moved a half point towards the Saints since it reopened on Sunday night. When we get to the total for this one, we have the 47.5 juice to the under. The look ahead was 47.5. This came out on Sunday night at 48.5. It's dropped a point since it came out on Sunday night. AM says these 0-3 versus 3-0 matchups are extremely rare historically, and we have 2 of them this week. Harold Williams says too much Hill pass. Chosen one leaning towards the over. Wager Detective looking at the Saints plus 16.5. We have the Saints coming off a tremendously ugly 44-13 loss at Seattle on Sunday. They were down 21-0 after the first, 38-6 at the half. It was the most points allowed in the half since they gave up 38 in the second half of a 62-7 loss to Atlanta in 1973. Spencer Rattler was 28 for 39 for 218 yards, touchdown on pick. He's now 0-9 as a starter, and the Saints have lost 7 straight games dating back to last year. Of course, that's not the most. The Titans are at 9. Olave led receivers with 10 catches for 57 yards. Juwan Johnson had 6 for 51. Kamara, 18 carries for 42 yards. 2.3 yards per carry for Alvin Kamara. Saints were just 5 of 17 on 3rd and 4th down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. The special teams cost them. They allowed 95-yard punt return touchdown. They had the first quarter punt block. The pass rush was completely invisible. That was something that we talked about in the offseason, about how weak this defense could be. Honey Badger retiring as soon as he saw them work out. They finished with 0 sacks and 2 quarterback hits. The defense couldn't get any stops when it mattered. Seahawks went 4 or 5 in the red zone. The Bills have extra rest and prep after beating the Dolphins 31-21 at home on Thursday night in a slightly underwhelming performance. They've now won 13 straight regular season home games dating back to mid-November 2023. That's too short of the franchise record that was set in their 90-91 seasons when they lost in the Super Bowl 4 straight seasons. Josh Allen was 22-28 for 213 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He improved his record to 14-2 over Miami. Just a beast. Buffalo's won 10 straight home meetings with the Dolphins. That spans 9-year McDermott career. Allen has 301 touchdowns from scrimmage. He did that in his 127th outing, so he did it in a game faster than Patrick Mahomes. Dalton Kincaid had 5 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. And James Cook, what a monster. What a Pro Bowl monster. 19 carries for 108 yards, touchdown. He caught a 10-yard pass. First player to top 100 yards against Miami in 36 games. Can you believe that run defense was doing that well? Hard to remember them being such a good defense. Cook extended his streak of rushing touchdowns to 7 straight regular season games. So he's tied the team record. I mean, how easy is that to add on to your player prop? If he gets a touchdown in this game, he breaks the record that now he's tied with O.J. Simpson and Cookie Gilchrist. So he's going to get fed a touchdown. Josh Allen will make a point of making Cook the franchise leader in consecutive games with rushing touchdowns. This is an excellent offense. We know that. Bills were 6 of 11 on third down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. The defense allowed the Dolphins to go 10 of 15 on third down, 10 of 15 and 1 of 1 on fourth down. They allowed the Dolphins to go 3 of 3 in the red zone. The pass rush playing with Ed Oliver was nowhere to be found. This pass rush had 0 sacks and 1 quarterback hit. Deion Walker, a rookie defensive tackle, filled in for Ed Oliver. Ed Oliver continuing to deal with the ankle injury. Matt Milano still out with the pectoral injury. Terrell Bernard had an interception. Take it away here. Brady says, I would not undervalue the fact that the Dolphins could have won that game. The final score was not indicative of how the game played. Bills could have gotten a wake-up call. I agree they could have. And I don't see them as being fat and happy after that game. Their defense is trash. They need to fix things against a weak opponent, and this is their chance to do that. So, Troy Torrence, cash flow-wise in Buffalo, New Orleans here. We have 81% of the tickets and 95% of the cash on the Buffalo Bills. They're giving us no information on the total. If we go over to the Action Network, we have 57% of the tickets and 80% of the cash on the Bills, 71% of tickets, 85% of cash on the under. I think their defense needs a wake-up call. They need to play. I think their defense is going to try 100% in this game to fix things that are going wrong. I'm not sure how hard the offense will try. Take it away, Troy.
I agree with you. Looking at the Bills and thinking back to last week, it was a Thursday night primetime game, so I do focus. This is just not a price range that I like to operate in, So overall, I'm really going to pass on this game. I just want to touch on a few things in this market. I talked about it last week. Home favorites greater than -10. In weeks 1 through 10 have been insane ATS, so around 70% ATS over the past 3 years. But the Bills just took a loss ATS against Miami in week 3. Birdie said that they should have lost that game, and I kind of agree. There's definitely a lot of avenues for them to lose that game if you look back and see what happened. But what I did talk about, if you remember that Thursday night show, I was very reluctant. I was very worried, concerned about my action on the Bills. And it's because the only market we've ever seen between 10 and 14 in over a 40-game sample where the line moved towards the road team, and they cash it. So you got a 43-game sample. The only time the market moved towards the road team, it was a cash, despite the 75%. It was crazy to me. That market was definitely spooked me last time. Now we're talking about a different type of market. We're talking about above 2 touchdown spread in the NFL. I mean, I hear people in the chat talking about that. Well, wouldn't mind throwing a few pennies on the big dog. My boy, the kid, called it out like it's. And you actually made a really good counterpoint. This should be a sleepy spot. There's no way the Bills are going to really want to put their foot on the throat of a team like the Saints. But we should expect the Bills defense, which I think is a mediocre defense, largely due to the undersized defensive front, probably with the bend but don't break scheme that doesn't work out well. Because once you get down to the red zone, you get pushed around in the trenches. It's going to result in touchdowns. Now, I'm not sure the Saints are capable of that. But I think you're right, Jimmy. I think they're going to want to show something on defense. The Bills' offense, obviously elite, strictly because of Josh Allen, but we know how the Bills are. They'll just smooth it. They'll cruise once they get up 2 scores. So I think the back door is going to be open in perpetuity in this game. The Saints, I mean, they got exposed in their first road game after an easy start to the season from a strength of schedule standpoint. The Seattle starters were out by the third quarter, like the Cardinals, the 49ers, and the Seahawks, and this team is not looking very good. They've recorded 0 wins with Rattler as their quarterback. They're incentivized at this point to lose football games, but that doesn't mean you have to lose by 15 points. You can lose by 15, still cover, still be a winner in my books. So this is just not a game. It's just not a price I like to operate in. I'm passing on this game completely. I have no interest.
I'm going to move on the under. I expect to move on the under when the show is over. The plan will be if the Bills completely shut the Saints down in the first half, just show everything they wanted to show, I will live bet the over and go for the middle, with the concern that the Bills will have shown what they needed to show on defense and will bring subs in for the second half.
So this will be the highest total for a favorite of 2 touchdowns or more. This would be the highest total we've ever seen. The highest total in the past 3 years. I shouldn't say we've never seen. In the past 3 years, we haven't seen a total with a 14-point or bigger favorite. We haven't seen a total above 44.5. So I don't know. Is that an outlier? I don't know.
It's an important point. And the idea here, I'm curious, said in the chat, just take Cook and the Scott saying Cook touchdown and the Bills money line. It's hard to envision when we know that they're going to. It should probably be Cook. I mean, I guess you'd have to bet 2 touchdowns here, but I'd be curious to see what we would get there. So I think this is going to be I'd be shocked if we get this down to minus 140, and we can't. Well, I mean, I'm sure you get better lines at other books, but it's a Bills money line. I think you'd have to take an alt line to make this work. That's not a bad move. I'm telling you, Josh Allen wants his teammates to shine. And I am certain, absolutely certain. Now, there's nothing's 100%. There's no, nothing like that. But I'm certain that he's going to do whatever he can to have James Cook's name in the Bills record book. I'm certain. And then, so that's the move, is to take take an alt line on the Bills. Because right now, if they're giving you the Cook touchdown at minus 190. I mean, that's telling you everything, unless he gets hurt. Minus 190. If you add the money line to that, what do you think it does? It goes to minus 175. It does nothing. So, actually, I think this is a move that should be made. I also think this is a move that should be made right now, because everybody's going to come to the realization that Josh Allen's going to set this up for Cook. So I think take the alt line. Not sure if that's a 6.5 or a 9.5 with the Cook touchdown. And these are not usual bets that I make, but I'm making it here. Birdie says the one thing the Saints defense does well is stop the run. Again, look, what Josh Allen wants, Josh Allen gets. So I'm not concerned about it. And so I think I still will put a unit on it. And I'm very interested in the under. Does that mean it's a first half under? I don't think it is. I don't think it is a first half under, because you also want now Birdie has a good point about, when is McDermott not wanted to go for 40, but I think they would take their foot off the gas in the second half if they're up big, sort of like we see in the, with big college favorites. So Scott asking the Saints team total under. What is the Saints team total under? We'll grab that for you right now. This is a public book I'm looking at right now. It does help when I compare the public lines to the sharp lines. I'm finding some angles that work for me. Right now, the under it's somewhere between 13.5 and 16.5. The under 16.5 right now is minus 140. So you might build a 15. There's different ways of handling it. You got to look at different books as well. All right, let's roll on here. Let's roll on. James says they took all the outlines way down. Yeah, I think that's my plan, though. And it's a very different type of bet for me. I don't feel like I'm reaching or trying to make something happen either. So I will be betting on this game. I'm not going to double down on the total, though. It would just be a full gamer. And again, as I said, if the first half is going way under, I'll live bet the over. Troy, anything you want to add to this?
No, sir.
All right, we roll on to our next spot on the board. 1 p.m. Eastern, Cleveland Browns. Your Cleveland Browns, Troy. They were very good to you, man.
These are my 2 teams. These are my guys right here.
They are your guys, yeah. 1-2, 0-1 on the road. Now look, the Lions. We were in business. I got a +7.5 on the Lions live when they went down in the beginning of the third quarter. That's nuts. Because it felt like to me they were in control the whole game, but they weren't. In the third quarter, the Ravens took a lead. The Browns coming off a very impressive 13-10 victory at home over the previously unbeaten Packers. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one and the cash flow for these for these Cleveland Browns. This totals a 44. The look ahead was a 47. Came out on Sunday night at 45.5, and it's already dropped to 44. For me, the Cleveland Browns will be one-way traffic at home. On the road, I'm not sure what to do with them. I understand that game in Baltimore, the score was not indicative of what the gameplay was. I get that.
But that's been the story now for a few years, too, with the defense, too. Yeah.
So, look, I'm not sitting here drooling over getting back in on the Browns at all. The look ahead was 10, comes out on Sunday night at 8.5. We've had a half-point move to Detroit since it's become available. When we get to the cash. Now? Say what, my man?
It is at 9. Okay.
Yeah. 73% of the tickets, 93% of the cash on Detroit. I mean, we know that's not, early rec cash gets in this early. We also, if you look at the Action Network, they've got 46% of the tickets on Detroit and 82% of the cash, 69% of tickets and 72% of cash on the under. I guess I'm going to flip here. I guess it's time to fade the Browns. But I wasn't planning on doing this. It's just sort of coming to my senses here right now. The Browns coming off that impressive 13-10 victory, scored all their points in the final 3 minutes and 38 seconds to snap an 8-game losing streak dating back to last season. It's the first time in franchise history the Browns have won a game in which they had scored no points and trailed by at least 10 with 4 minutes remaining. The last time it happened in the NFL was back in 2011 when the Broncos rallied to beat the Chicago Bears. December 11th, 2011. Joe Flacco was 21-36 for 142 yards and interception. I just love his poise. I love how he handles things. How do you not cheer for the guy? Njoku caught 5 passes for 40 yards. I told you guys Quinshon Judkins is the opportunity for this offense to start rolling, and he was great, man. 18 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. But the offense continues to struggle. They were 4-13 on third down, 1-2 in the red zone. Offensive tackle DeJuan Jones suffers a season-ending knee injury. That's a tough loss, right? They're already missing Jack Conklin. So he missed a game with an elbow injury. He's listed as questionable this week. The defense was spectacular. They held the Packers to 3.8 yards per play. Pass rush had 5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Grant Delpit had that game-changing interception. They held the Packers to 2 red zone opportunities. Packers went 1 for 2 down there. Lions are on a short week after a very impressive 38-30 win at Baltimore on Monday night. The offense looked excellent. The Lions were the first team with 2 touchdown drives of at least 95 yards in the game since the Patriots in 2021. Goff was 20-28 for 22 yards and a touchdown. Lions outgained the Ravens 426-318. They outgained the Ravens on the ground, right? That was what everybody was talking about. Now we've seen back-to-back teams shut the Ravens running game down. But I'm all over the Ravens this week. They outgained the Ravens 224-85 on the ground. David Montgomery ran 12 times for 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught a 13-yard pass. Jameer Gibbs ran 22 times for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns while catching 5 for 32. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught 7 for 77 in a touchdown. Lions were 7-14 on third down, 3 of 3 on fourth down. They went 4 of 5 in the red zone. I mean, going 7-14 on third down and 3 of 3 on fourth down, it's starting to sound a little bit like the Philadelphia Eagles. Pass rush reminded us of the first 5 games of last season for the Aiden Hutchinson injury. They were excellent. They sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times and without Marcus Davenport, who was placed on IR with a chest injury. The story from the Detroit camp is that we're not going to see Davenport, if at all, until mid to late November. The defense held the Ravens to 2 of 4 in the red zone. I'm surprised at this, but this cap has got me interested in the Detroit Lions. But I don't know are we buying Detroit high? I know we're selling Cleveland high.
Right.
Take it away, Troy.
I'm right there with you. It's really difficult for me to be able to delineate what's going on in this game. And it's really hard for me figuring that I was on both these teams' money line as massive dogs just last week. start with the Browns. I want to start with the Browns defense and the noise adjusted score in that game last week was 14-13 in favor of the Browns. I think that's fair based on how that game played out the entire game. This could be one of the best defenses I truly have ever seen. The Browns personnel is the most elite that I've seen. Myles Garrett, the most dominant defensive player in the NFL, and I don't think it's even close. Schlesinger and Bush at linebacker. I've been talking about Schlesinger. I think he's going to be a Hall of Fame caliber linebacker in his career if he stays healthy. Both these guys are great in coverage. They can play man. They can play zone. They're physical against the run, and they can rush the passer. I think that this defense is elite. And then you look at the secondary. They can play both man and zone coverage. Obviously, they prefer to play man coverage. And it's a huge step forward from what they played in prior years because last year, in the past 2 years, we've seen cover zero blitz nonstop. We're not seeing a lot of cover zero blitz from the Browns anymore. We're seeing a lot of cover one with a middle hook zone between Schlesinger and Bush. I think that's the strong suit. That's the strength of this defense. Let the front four get after it. If you look at Jared Goff, it's another quarterback who struggles more versus man coverage. The completion rate for Jared Goff versus man drops from 70% to 63%. The yards per attempt from 8.3 to 7.0. And the EPA per drop back basically gets cut into a third from 0.19 to 0.07. So the Browns defense, absolutely elite. The Browns offense, they had so many opportunities, especially in the first half and the first few drives of the game. Flacco, I think this guy needs to be benched. They have a bunch of these rookie quarterbacks. They need to insert one of these guys because Flacco's clearly misreading coverages. And here's the rough part about it. Like, you want to see a veteran quarterback take more chances because there was multiple plays where he opted to take the underneath route on second and third and short, opposed to open receivers on the field. So you have a short down and distance. So, right, they'll teach a young quarterback, to dump that ball down, take the easy pass, and take the yards. But when you see a receiver running downfield in a tight game where points are hard to come by, I just couldn't believe it from Flacco because there was 2 plays where he had a wide open route down the field. He chose to throw the underneath route. He's clearly very sensitive to pressure, especially against interior pass rush, getting a bull rush, up the middle. He's not handling that well at all. And actually, the offensive line generated the run game was there for this Browns team. They didn't notice it until late in the game. But if I were the offensive coordinator, I'm taking Flacco out of the game after what I've seen last week. And I know they were up against a very elite defense and a very tough scheme, but those 2 plays will stick out like a sore thumb for me with Flacco. And it's really hard to put your faith in a guy who you expect to see a veteran throw that ball down the field and take the yards because it was there. And the Lions, there was so many concerns we had of how they're going to be year over year. And that concern is starting to fade away. The play calling, the scheme, the special packages were all there. The creativity is there. I was in the chat talking yesterday about the I-form stacked, right? They had basically an I-form, which is usually a fullback and a halfback. But now they put a tight end in the backfield. So you have a fullback, you have a tight end, a fullback, and a halfback. I never seen that formation in my entire life. They were running ISO. They were running fullback dive from it, but it was really set up to run 2 plays. They really, and actually that third play action play where Goff just threw a absolute dot to finish the game off. But they really used that offensive scheme just to run 2 plays. One of them was in the red zone. That fullback dive with the triple option with the pitch, that was just brilliant. Like, what I'm saying is the creativity behind this offense is still there. I'm not concerned about this Lions offense as much as I was. The offensive linemen are starting to come together. They're starting to mold and gel together. Ratledge actually performed. He was killing it yesterday on the inside zone scheme. And the effort was elite. Like, one play that stuck into my mind is Jamison Williams. When Montgomery broke out that 70-yard run, Jamison Williams was hustling as hard as I've seen anybody hustle thus far this NFL season to date. From 20 yards behind the play, he's busting his ass with nothing but Ravens in front of him. And he's trying to get up to maybe make a block, to maybe recover a fumble. Why does he do that? It's because of Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is the engine that makes the Lions tick. I put too much emphasis on Ben Johnson. I think Dan Campbell's really the guy making this team tick. And I'm very impressed with what we've seen from this team. And I agree with you. I'm leaning towards the Lions in this game. I don't want to talk about the market yet because I think there's a lot of movement to be had from here. But I think this is a Lions or pass spot because I think the Lions are going to be able to put up points with the Browns defense on the road. And I don't want to trust the Browns on the road quite yet, especially versus this caliber of offense.
Yeah, Flacco is making questionable decisions. He's not going to be able to hear a goddamn thing. I know we're talking about a vet, but this is a tricky spot for him. But Birdie says he's holding his nose and taking the point to the Browns. He says the stress that Lions defense had last night defending Lamar will carry over on a short week. What about the over? The sharps are, on the under right now. The people are going to be betting the under. The Browns can't score and they can suffocate other teams. What about flipping the script on that? The Lions can be scored upon. The Lions aren't on the road. Like this was in Cleveland, I'd already be on the under. But this is in Detroit. We're a 44. It seems pretty low. What do you think of that, of going up again? Now, it's not something I do going up against market moves, really. But I do have some appeal here. What do you think of trying to get over it?
I think it's a good look. I had the worst profile I could create that would suggest against that. I'm trying to build something that shows me not to bet the over in this game, but I'm only finding over profiles. The worst I could get is 50-50. So I do think that the over is the right side to be on in this game.
I don't know if I have the confidence to bet that right now. I kind of sort of, like the Eagles Rams, I wanted that under so bad. First half under, full game under. We talked about it. You said that, when you put it that kind of into the portfolio of that game into your market efficiency database, that it was telling you that the over was the play. It was sitting there at 44.5 all week, and then it shoots up to 45.5 on Sunday. I mean, that's a pretty clear message. When the Eagles had played, 2 unders, even though that first one against the Cowboys, if the lightning strike hadn't happened, probably wouldn't have gone under. But I wonder if this happens here, if it just sits at, like, if it goes down to 43.5 and 43, it's hard for me to have the confidence to go up against that market move. But if it just sits here at 44 and then we come Sunday and it moves up to 45, I think it's worth betting. Tom Lee says both teams need to score, to cash an over. Yeah, what I think I will do, though, is I'm going to bet the double result tonight. I'm going to bet the Lions double result minus 150. I don't have concern with that amount of vig on a double result in this sort of a situation. So that's what I will do. I'm interested in the over. I do think that the short week is not helpful. The short week is not, but I also really believe we're selling the Browns high. And a real likely scenario is that, the Eagles beat them soundly. The Lions beat them soundly. And then what happens right after that is, we get an opportunity to attack or back the Browns at home at a better number. So Coin saying that the Cleveland home stop unit is so much different, so much stronger than the road stop unit. Detroit offense at home lights this defense up. I think so. So the over is interested. I'm interested in. I don't think I move on it tonight. I'm also interested in the Lions, but the short week does concern me. I want to sit with that a little longer, but it doesn't concern me for them to be up at halftime and win the game. So I'm going to move on that tonight. And that is my plan. Is there anything you want to set up here, or do we move on?
No, I am. If anything, I'll probably be on the over in this game, but for now, I'm just going to let this pass. I just don't feel confident, and especially after backing both these teams last week. I just don't want to be involved.
Let's roll on. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, Carolina Panthers at New England Patriots. We're at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. 74 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7-mile-per-hour winds. There's only 1 or 2 bets I made on one game that I just knew I needed, and I haven't moved on other ones. Drewski on the Panthers money line here. I want the New England Patriots in this football game. I want them double result and maybe more. But the 5.5 is not a comfortable number, especially with a Patriots team that isn't executing at a high level, fumbling the ball all over the place.
That's what makes it so beautiful.
Patriots double result was the only other bet I almost came here with. The Falcons and the Patriots I almost came here with locked in, but this is, JM says Panthers have been covering. That's exactly what I want the public sentiment to be. So I want the Patriots bad. 0-2 at home. Vrabel absolutely livid. And we'll discuss all this. This is the wonderful opportunity we have to sell the Panthers high on the road because everyone thinking about the 30 points they put up. Drewski says Pat's not good enough to be laying -5. It's possible. I'm not saying that. I'm certainly not saying you're wrong, but this is a wonderful opportunity to fade the Panthers here after their excellent football game. This is also the look ahead was 5.5, so nothing has changed after the Panthers won 30-0 though, and this line came out. This was a 4. So since this line come out, we've had a 1.5 move towards the Patriots. And I agree with that move. I probably should have hammered it as soon as possible. But again, we have our Sunday night live stream, our Monday night live stream. We had so much action still going. There was, hard to look ahead when you've got so much invested right in front of you. But it's something that I need to fix. When we get to the total, here we have a 43.5. I am looking at a 43. The look ahead was 45. It comes out on Sunday night at 43.5. It goes up to 44 for a little bit, and then it drops back to 43.5. And when we take a look at the cash flow for this one, we have both side and total, which is nice. 68% of tickets on New England and 65% of the cash. And it's moved a 1.5 since it was available on Sunday night. But it's the opening. It's now back to the opener before the Panthers won 30-0. I think it's very important information. Also, 93% of tickets on the over, 90% of cash on the over, and nobody cares. This is probably dropping. Spenny says, as long as Christian Gonzalez is out for the Pats, they will continue to let big plays. I mean, it wasn't big plays that hurt them. Look at what the Steelers did. The Steelers took advantage of fumbles. That's all. It wasn't, Panthers coming off a dominant 30-0 victory at home over the Falcons on Sunday. They were outgained 332-224 by the Falcons. They played mistake-free football, capitalized on Falcon mistakes. Bryce Young was 16-24 for 121 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He played mistake-free football. He had turned the ball over 5 times in the first 2 games of the year. McMillan is really a special talent. He caught 3 for 48. Chuba Hubbard, 17 carries for 73 yards. And the offensive line held up well despite losing both guard Robert Hunt and center Austin Corbett. And we question why Ejiro Evero was kept on. The worst defense in NFL history last year. And look, it was an impressive group, man. Avero's unit intercepted Penix twice, forced 3 turnovers, limited the Falcons to 5 of 16 on 3rd and 4th down combined, and pitched their first shutout since 2020. The Panthers' shutout came despite playing without Turk Wharton, their defensive end, and outside linebacker Pat Jones. Those were two of the biggest. Those were the 2 of the biggest free agent signings in the offseason. Pass rush was very quiet, though. 0 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. The secondary came through with 2 interceptions, one for Smith Wade that he returned 11 yards for a touchdown, and one for Mike Jackson. Again, the Falcons didn't step foot in the red zone. Tight end Jatavian Sanders injured his ankle in the 4th quarter. He did not return. He's listed as questionable. Patriots coming off a disastrous 21-14 loss at home to the Steelers. They had 9 more first downs, 9 more, and they outgained the Steelers 369-203. That's when I want a team in this situation. Lose the turnover battle 5-1. It was New England's first 5 turnover game since 2008. And that was the year Brady got hurt, right? It wasn't Brady at quarterback. Drake May was 28-37 for 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. He also led the Patriots in rushing with 7 carries for 45 yards. He lost a fumble, too. Hunter Henry caught 8 for 90 and 2 touchdowns to lead the Patriots. Ramondre Stevenson ran 4 times for 18 yards, caught 3 for 38, but lost 2 fumbles. Antonio Gibson lost the other fumble. The pass rush, again, was nowhere to be found. 0 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. Defense allowed the Steelers to go 3 of 3 in the red zone. This is as angry as you'll see Vrabel be. They're going to be working on, holding on to the football on practice, and I think it's going to be some pretty intense practices. This is a buy the Patriots low and sell the Panthers high. The double result's more appealing than anything else. Troy Torrence, take it away.
I agree with you. The double result is the most appealing bet in this game to me, especially if we expect an angry Patriots team. The elephant in the room is this market. What the hell are the Patriots doing laying 5, 5.5, 6 points? What does this market look like in the past where the home team opens between 3.5 and 5 and close between 5 and 6? It's a very tight range. It's not a huge sample, but the home team is 64% ATS, 82% on the money line, 64% to the under as well. But if you look at the sample, it's not very applicable because a lot of these teams are teams like the Eagles, the Vikings, the Chiefs, the Lions, the Texans, the Rams. I mean, this is not a very applicable sample, so take it for what it's worth. Both these teams, I mean, this is another game. There's been a few already that have just a very weak strength of schedule. The Pats with the Raiders, Dolphins, and Steelers, and the Panthers with the Jags, Cardinals, and Falcons. Ultimately, I'm more impressed with what the Pats were able to do relative to the price we're being offered here. They do continue to look better each week, despite fumbling the ball 5 times or 5 turnovers, which is really just an outlier. It's not something that I would ever expect to happen again. They were able to stop the run consistently. And, man, I'm really thinking I should be on the Patriots in this game. The Pats, here's my problem with backing the Patriots in this game is the Panthers are vulnerable against good rushing attacks. Now, it didn't really show last week, even though the Atlanta Falcons ran the ball for almost 6 yards per carry. But the Patriots are not going to be able to run the football. Maybe they could versus this team. I don't know. That's where I'm kind of caught up because the Pats' run blocking grade and run block win rate is amongst the bottom 5 in the NFL. Their running back grades are 31st in the NFL. Failure on both levels on the offensive line and the running back position. And I like the fact that Bryce Young's going to be seeing mostly zone coverage. Now, will that continue if we insert Christian Gonzalez back into the lineup? What's his status again, Jimmy? I was looking stuff up as you were talking because I'm starting to get more and more interested in this.
We're the Wednesday injury report will tell the tale right now. Last that we heard was just that he's questionable this week. Look, I thought as of Thursday, I thought he was going to play last week. So I predict he's in the lineup. But what is it? What am I basing that on? I'm basing that on that I thought he was going to play last week.
And I'm seeing sharp action on the Patriots. The public, 57% of bets on the Panthers spread. I know that's going to be different in odds logic, but I think that this is, action is more of a reflection of the public books. And the database is really only offering me one route in this game. I mean, this is a Panthers or pass situation. There's no chance in hell I can back the Panthers after winning 30-0 and passing for 114 yards in that game, getting outgained and just very favorable situation for them. Now I think it's time to fade, and I'm ready. What kind of price are we getting on this double result?
Plus 105 at 365 right now.
Plus 105.
I'm okay with that number. The question is, do I want more? And then, everybody's saying, they don't trust Drake May or, the Panthers could keep this close. That's the hope. The hope is that everybody feels that way. Patriots are trash, shouldn't be this big of a favorite. Do you just see what the Panthers did last week? This is a team on the upswing. Like, we want that to be the public sentiment and to bet against it.
Well, that's exactly what I just did. I bet the double result at plus 105 at bet 365. I like it. I mean, you could consider, using a teaser, but I just think this is a better straight bet. And I will be live betting this game as well if for whatever reason we don't if the Panthers come out and score their first drive. We just have to fade the Panthers. We have to fade the Panthers here.
I agree. Birdie saying, shouldn't that be minus 120? No. Let's just use a example here.
The double result?
Yeah, I think that's the right. That's
at most books. At most books, it is about minus 120.
But look, the Texans are 7 points favorite, 7-point favorites, right? So that's a minus 134 on the double result. Let's go to another example here.
It's really hard because that 6 really flips the line. It really accelerates the price.
The Broncos, for instance, they're minus 138 at home as 7-point favorites. So no, I would, because I mean, like, look what we got compared to the Chiefs. Birdie, the Chiefs were 6-point favorites, stayed there the whole time, and we got plus 100 on the double result. This is a 5.5, so it's plus 105. I don't see any hijinks. I see this is what the line should be. If you would have asked me what I thought it would be, I would have guessed plus 105 or plus 110, just because I hammered the Chiefs 3 different times at the plus 100. So I'm very comfortable with where the line is. Okay, so Troy has moved on the Patriots double result at plus 105, and I will be joining him.
I'm joining you, Jimmy.
Oh, Birdie says, don't you 5-unit that? That's what he means. Like, don't you just hammer that? That's what he means. Yeah,
Is he asking me?
No, he's just saying that's what he was meaning to say. He was like, how could this be plus 105? We must hammer this bet. And I agree. I agree. Now, I'm only going to bet 1 unit on it tonight. I can add and it's very important to kind of watch what the line does. Wisconsin this past week in college football, they were a minus 150 on the double result as 10-point favorites, 9.5-point favorites. And then come kickoff, the line was 9.5 and the double result went down to minus 134. You don't usually see it. And of course they lost outright, but you don't, I often, the ones that I'm interested in, I almost never see go against, move in the wrong direction. They always it always becomes more expensive as time goes on. I'm right with you. And Chosen One saying it's minus 125 on DraftKings. No worries, D Jenkins, my man. Yes, the ticket count here for this one, and then we will move on to our next spot on the board for Carolina, New England. We have 68% of tickets on New England and 65% of the cash. 94% of tickets on the over and 89% of the cash. JT in the house. It is great to see you. Let's roll on. Troy, we're locked step with this one. I'm right with you. We roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern action, LA Chargers, 3-0, 1-0 on the road. The New York Giants, 0-3, 0-1 at home. We're at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. 76 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 3-mile-per-hour winds. Beautiful weather for football this coming weekend. Take a look at the line history here for Chargers Giants. We have a total of 44. 1.5 move to the under. The look ahead was 45.5. It came out on Monday morning at 44. Came out Monday morning at 44. Got up to 44.5 and then dropped down to 44. So sitting around there. Let's get to the line history here on the point spread. We have the Chargers minus 6.5. Opened up at minus 6, down to 5.5, 6, 5.5, 6. It's at 6.5 right now. I don't know why I didn't use that as the example for the double result. Why didn't I? This is a 6.5. This is a good example for the double result. And this line is minus 115. So look, double results have changed my ROI drastically. And I don't mean to but it started with Canadian football and I've rolled it into NFL and college. It's been extremely helpful. So we roll. Chargers coming off an impressive 23-20 victory at home over the Broncos. You would think that after what we saw from the Giants, that big money would be being bet on the Chargers, and And it is 76% of tickets and 85% of the cash. Will this get to a 7 here? It's the first 3-0 start for the Superchargers since 2002. They outgained the Broncos 376 to 265. Listen to this. This is the craziest stat. Of all the stats I read throughout in a 23-20 game, the Chargers had 29 first downs and the Broncos had 9.
Yeah, and the noise adjusted score had the Chargers winning by 6.
I thought
shocked me when I seen that.
I thought it'd be even more than that. Herbert was 28 of 47 for 300 yards, touchdown, interception. Youngest NFL player to reach 2,000 career completions. He did it in his 82nd game, so he's the second fastest player in games wise. Q is rolling, man. Caught 6 passes for 89 yards. He's having the wide receiver trajectory of Brandon Ayuk, who started out a very first round draft pick. He was butterfingers, not playing well, and then they believed in him. They didn't, they stuck by him, and now, coming back from injury, obviously. But Keenan Allen caught 7 passes for 65 yards and touchdown. Omari and Hampton, 19 carries for 70 yards, caught 6 passes for 59 yards, and he's going to be getting a lot more run now that Najee Harris tore his Achilles. Chargers were 8 of 17 on third down, but just 1 of 3 in the red zone. The defense was excellent. Held the Broncos to 9 first downs, held them to 2 of 13 on third down, and that's without Khalil Mack and Denzel Perryman. But the pass rush was not as strong, and we're going to be seeing that. 2 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. Both Mack and Perryman are on injured reserve, so they're going to be out for a long time. Mekhi Becton is in concussion protocol after getting hurt in the second quarter. One thing I've noticed with guards, with offensive linemen, when they go into concussion protocol, they don't come out 6 days later, generally speaking. So they already lost Rashawn Slater. I'd be surprised if Mekhi Becton's in the lineup. And what did the Broncos do to him? Well, they allowed 5 sacks, and no quarterback got hit as many times as Herbert. Herbert got hit 14 times. And now we're going to have a full game without Mekhi Becton and, of course, without Rashawn Slater. And we know that the Giants have a pass rush. Look, I'm not trying to sell the Giants on you. I'm just telling you why it's not a 7 or higher. The Giants coming off an ugly 22-9 home loss on Sunday night versus the Chiefs. That's the type of game where, when we're older and our kids are a little older and maybe there's not as much pressure on us, that's where we go down to Vegas and make a massive, massive bet. I was just so certain. I was so certain that they were going to take care of the Giants, and we were lucky to catch the double result. Good God. They were only...
Were we, though? You brought this up to me, and then I had to reflect on it.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was lucky.
The Bucker missed field goal was not... it was unjust.
40-yard field goal. Harrison Bucker.
It was unjust, but still...
I was throwing shit around my house when he missed that field goal.
I thought we were going to lose for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So they were only outgained 306 to 281. That's it. But the Giants were 2 of 14 on third and fourth down. Both the Giants and the Chiefs finished at 4.6 yards per play. Russell Wilson was 18 of 32 for 160 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He also ran 5 times for 27 yards. What was the difference in the game? It was simple. Patrick Mahomes against Russell Wilson. That was all. That was it. Cam Scadabo was the entire offense. He ran 10 times for 60 yards, touchdown, caught 6 for 61. Tyrone Tracy suffered a dislocated shoulder. He's expected to be sidelined 2 to 4 weeks. Wandale Robinson and Malik Neighbors combined for 3 catches for 39 yards. And keep an eye on what the Chiefs are doing to WR1s, because it's pretty impressive what Spags is doing to them, just shutting them down. We saw that in the Eagles game. What did A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith do? Nothing. But the Giants were just 1 of 3 in the red zone. The defense kept them in it. Pass rush had 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Chiefs were 8 of 15 on third down of 2 and 3 in the red zone. Graham Gano was announced to have a groin injury just before the game started. He didn't take the field till the fourth quarter. He made a 25-yard field goal. And Andrew Thomas played for the first time in 11 months since undergoing foot surgery. So what was the difference in the football game? Why were the Chiefs, so much better in the second half? Was it just the fact that Andrew Thomas played the first 26 offensive snaps before Marcus Mabeau, the rookie, replaced him? And that was the plan all along. That is part of it. It's so amazing how important Andrew Thomas is to this whole machine. Take it away for us here, Troy. Chargers, Giants.
So historically, this is a great market to tease the road favorite with the market moving towards them as they're winning at a ridiculous clip. And I've actually teased a few games like this already this season. So certainly I see a lot of value from a market history standpoint with the Chargers on the money line, but I'm just not very comfortable, not only with this market environment, with the insertion of Jackson Dart at quarterback. I've also been on the Chargers for 3 straight games. It might be time to take a break because something just don't smell right with this game. It just don't sit right with me. And if it's a gut feeling, I don't like betting or not betting because of a gut feeling, but this is definitely one of those spots. All my notes here is talking shit about Russell Wilson and why they need to put Jackson Dart in. Well, we got what we wanted. The problem with Russell Wilson mostly was that he was very one-dimensional and he could not score points in the red zone. He was absolutely despicable. I called it out last week. I was on the live stream talking, how are they going to score in the red zone? It's really, it was an embarrassing performance every time they got into the red zone. And the Giants, they don't have an identity. The offense looks completely ad hoc. There's no preparation, apparently no preparation, and no proper scheme being deployed. And the defense can't figure out if they want to play man or zone. I once believed in Dabble. Now I'm starting to think that this is one of the worst coach teams in the NFL, and the players might be giving up on them. The Chargers, the noise adjusted score in the Chargers game, 29-20. Shocked to see that. Say it again.
That makes more sense to me. 6, I was shocked. I thought it'd be more.
Yeah, 29-20. 29-20. So I misspoke earlier. I think this is the best coached and most disciplined defense in the NFL. Only allowed one of the Broncos' possessions to reach the red zone. Truly impressive. I love the scheme that they use. They predominantly cover 3, but they mix it up with cover 1 perfectly. And they take away explosive plays with the cloud flats in the cover 3. I love because they have safeties. They have players that could rally to make the tackle once the ball's thrown in front of them, with Derwin James, with Henley, and Justin Herbert's the most impressive quarterback in the league thus far. And I think it's kind of by margin in terms of performance above expectation. His spray chart is the most beautiful in the NFL. He's using in the entire field at every level. A very balanced quarterback. He's able to overcome bad offensive line play that's starting to surface a little bit more. And he just has so many options to choose from. And the elevation of Quentin Johnston has been key for them. I'm just so heavily concerned with this game despite the market. I just cannot back this Chargers team 3-0 going on the road in a sleepy noon start game against the Giants, who got to be extremely desperate for a win, haven't won a game yet. The public is definitely going to be all over the Chargers. There's no doubt about that. So I'm not going to be betting this game one way or the other. I think we're going to close. This line makes a ton of sense, right? What's the difference between the Chargers and the Chiefs? It's probably about a half a point or 1 point at this point in time in the season. So I expect it to close 6.5 or 7. And this is just a game I don't see a lot of value in.
What is your expectation of Jackson Dart here?
I think it's going to be an upgrade, but how fast is that going to play out, come to fruition? I think Jackson Dart is significantly better. In the reports we read about him all camp is that he was the better quarterback. So I'm not surprised to see him in the starting lineup. And I think he's going to give them a better chance to win, even despite the line moving.
Yeah, I mean, Harbaugh can get the most out of his team. I'm not worried about the sleepy start. I'm not, but I do not want the Chargers for some reason. I'm very curious about this line. I mean, if this is obviously, if this drops through the 6 to 5.5, we know exactly what to do, what we have to do. If this moves to 7 and it's a strong 7, let's say it's a 7 minus 120 of the Chargers, we know they're going to win by margin.
And also, I do want to call out here that I wouldn't be on the home team money line if this dropped below the 6. Only on a road team would I be on the money line as well. On the home team, just ATS.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I think that the unknown of Jackson Dart, it just, and then, I understand that you have a gut feeling that this is all of the public's going to be on the Chargers and the Giants probably cover. Do you want to bet on that gut feeling? And no, of course not. We want numbers to influence our action more than our gut. Wager Detective already looking at Giants plus 6.5 here. So nothing for me either at this point here. And the numbers, and I'm very interested to see how they change. Right now we have 76% of tickets and 85% of the cash on the Chargers, according to the board here. And then if we go over to action and see what they have for the Chargers game, they have here, for Chargers Giants, they have 67% of the tickets and 90% of the cash. It's hard to believe that there won't be 80+% of the tickets on the Chargers. I find it impossible to believe. So we'll have to see. This is probably one-way traffic towards the Giants, but I don't want to back Jackson Dart here in his first start. And then an interesting point by Birdie was that if Jackson Dart's in, which he is in, then Andrew Thomas will play the whole game to protect, their investment. Let's roll on. That is Chargers Giants. We move on. Next spot on the board for us is Eagles Buccaneers. Eagles Buccaneers. And I received a message from our friend Ron Crawford, who can't be here this evening with us. Ron Crawford wanted us to know that the spreadsheet dog in the NFL this weekend is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay plus 3.5 minus 110. Ron Crawford spreadsheet dog. Ron Crawford. Take a look at the line history here for this one. We are sitting at a 3.5 at a pick'em. The look ahead was 2.5. Then this comes out Sunday night at a 3. The 3 was heavily juiced towards the Buccaneers. There's a plus 3 minus 115. That changed pretty quickly. So when this line came back again on Sunday night, right? It was dark for when the games were on. It comes back with the Eagles minus 3 at minus 102. The Eagles go to minus 3 at minus 105 30 minutes later. 5 hours later, they go to minus 110. 2 hours later, they go to minus 117. Then there's actually 2 cents of buyback before it flips to 3.5. So since this is being reintroduced, we've had a half-point move towards the Philadelphia Eagles, and we know how important that move is from 3 to 3.5. And Troy will talk about, what the market indicates from a 3.5 here. From a total standpoint, we have a 43.5. The look ahead was 45.5. Comes out on Sunday night, 6:41 p.m. right there at 45.5. And now we're at a 43.5. This is the kind of move, Troy, that you see in every NFC West game. So the fact that hasn't happened in the Thursday nighter is interesting. And I love that you're on that under, and I'm very interested in it. But this is the type of move we see. Londo is on the Eagles minus 3, and Chosen One talking about the injury issues that these Buccaneers are dealing with, and there is a bunch. Evans went and had the MRI today on his hamstring, so I was trying to get that information, and I didn't get it. And Chosen One saying Ibuka nicked up, but he's been playing very well despite 2 different injuries that he's playing through. 85 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 5 miles per hour here, Raymond James Stadium. The Eagles come in off a wild 33-26 victory at home over the Rams. When we get to the cash flow for this Eagles Tampa spot, 65% of the tickets are on Philadelphia, but just 55% of the cash. So we have 35% of the tickets on Tampa and 45% of the cash. 68% of tickets are on the over and just 52% of the cash, and this is dropping. Eagles had the Jordan Davis blocking the potential game-winning Rams field goal, returning at 61 yards to the house to seal the deal. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. The public dog deserved to win and took it in the larynx. And I would have lost everything. These were the 3 spots that I wanted so badly that you, Troy, helped keep me off. I thought, I would have gone 1 and 2. Well, I would have gone 1 and 2. I thought that all game long till, of course, I would have gone 0 and 3 had I moved on the unders and the Rams. It was the Eagles' second block kick of the fourth quarter. They came back from 26-7. The Eagles are 19-1 over their last 20 games. That's including playoffs. That's the best 20-game stretch, of course, in franchise history. It was the biggest home comeback for the Eagles since they rallied from 20 points down in 1988. That was at Veterans Stadium. They were outgained 356-288. Jalen Hurts was 21-32 for 226 yards and 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions. Also ran 9 times for 40 yards and a touchdown. He did lose a fumble. A.J. Brown caught 6 for 109 and a touchdown. He needed that. Devonta Smith caught 8 for 60 and a touchdown. And Saquon Barkley held to just 46 yards on 18 carries. He has just 194 yards on the ground through 3 games, of course, running for 2005 last year. They were just 5 of 14 on third down, but 4 for 5 on fourth down. The ace in their sleeve, the tush push. The defense held the Rams to 3 of 10 on third down, and they won the game in the red zone. The Rams were just 1 of 4 in the red zone. The Eagles were a perfect 3 for 3. The pass rush finished with 1 sack and 7 quarterback hits. Zach Bond had an interception. Right tackle Lane Johnson left the game with a neck injury. Listed as questionable. That's a huge piece of this puzzle. Cornerback Adoree Jackson suffered a groin injury. He's listed as questionable. So is wide receiver Darius Cooper, suffered a shoulder injury, but it's not as important, obviously. The Eagles now remind me of what the Chiefs became, where you can outplay them, but you can't beat them. The Buccaneers coming off a 29-27 victory at Tampa on Sunday over the Jets. They were seemingly in control. 26-6 early in the fourth quarter before the Jets mounted their comeback. Tampa Bay became the first team in the Super Bowl era to win in the final minute of the fourth quarter in each of their first 3 games. They're the third team since the merger to get a winning score in the final minute of regulation in 3 consecutive games at any point in the season. They joined the Giants in 1994 and Pittsburgh in 2017. Man, I mean, Baker Mayfield is a junkyard dog. Tampa Bay is unbeaten through 3 games for only the 5th time in the franchise 50-year history. McLaughlin winning kick came less than 2 minutes after blocked a 43-yard attempt and returned it 50 yards for a touchdown to put the Jets ahead 27-26 with 1:49 remaining. Aaron Glenn dancing up the sidelines. What are you doing? Isn't the job of the coach now? I'm sure there's others, and we know Campbell. We know people pump up their team, but good God, show some fucking composure. Dancing up the sidelines. If now you're going to lose for sure. I watched them dance up the sidelines. I was like, oh, they're going to fucking lose. McLaughlin made field goals of 54, 33, 28, and 55. The Buccaneers outgained the Jets 346-267. Baker was 19-29 for 233 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. He also ran 4 times for 44 yards. Egbuka caught 6 for 85. Sterling Shepard caught 4 for 80. Bucky Irving doing his thing, ran 25 times for 66 yards, caught 4 for 33. The offense looked good until it hit the red zone where they would routinely stall. I don't remember seeing the Bucs struggle like that, but Evans got hurt in the game, and Bucks finished 1 of 5 in the red zone. The defense held the Jets to just 4-14 on third and fourth down, but they allowed the Jets to go 2 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush finished with 4 sacks and 10 quarterback hits. Is that the fact that this Tampa Bay Buccaneers rush defense and front seven is really strong, or are there some serious issues with the Jets offensive line? Jamal Dean had an interception. Defensive lineman Logan Hall, groin injury, left in the second quarter. And, of course, we talked about Mike Evans slated to undergo the MRI today on his hamstring. And Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin are still working their way back to the lineup after offseason surgeries. Is Wirfs going to be back here? They could sure use him. Troy Torrence, take it away. Eagles, Buccaneers.
Well, I got to kick this cap off with starting with the market, because this is – I talk about the 3.5s, especially with home dogs, and this is why I will never be betting a home dog +3 or +3.5. Home dogs that open and close between +3 and +3.5 are 11-26 ATS over the last 3 years. That's 30%. 10-32 straight up, 24%. And every way you slice this market, you're going to find 60% plus trends to the under. If the market also moved towards the under in this sample, 14-3, 83% to the under. Last year, the Bucs opened up +2.5 at home versus Philly. The market moved to +1, and the Bucs hammered them. Philly was dealing with injuries. Now it's vice versa. The Bucs are dealing with injuries, but both teams are 3-0. It's hard to bet either of these teams when we've seen what they've done the first 2 games. They're very similar in stature right now. Both teams winning games late, winning very closely contested games. I just struggle to find either side to be appealing in this spot. And my issue with backing the Eagles, despite this fantastic market, is Todd Bowles. and the Bucs defense has the Eagles number. You got Vea plugging up the inside zone opportunities. That's where the Eagles like to eat on the ground. And the Bucs one of the premier run defenses in the NFL thus far, and the zone blitz scheme has confused Hurts in the past. I expect it to have some type of the same effect this game. And my issue back in the Bucs is they're clearly the luckiest team, in my opinion, in the NFL. They have a battered offensive line. I think the Eagles' defensive line is going to destroy this Bucs offensive line, even with Wirfs back in his very first game in 100-degree heat. It's not going to be like he's going to step in and be the dog he once was. And I think he's going to return to being a dog. I just don't think it's going to be in his first start back against this defensive line and this defense in general. I put a ton of equity in this market. This makes it an Eagles or pass clearly. If it drops down to 2.5, 2, maybe it'll be a buck spot for me. But there's one thing I definitely moved on right now. I just moved on to 44.5 and the 44. I did bet both of them. I got to share it. I bet 44.5 at FanDuel for minus 115, and I bet the 44 at minus 110 at Bovada.
Unders. Makes sense. Under 44.5 and under 44 here for Troy. I wonder if
it's the same unders. I did the same thing last week with the Cardinals 49ers, under 44.5, under 44.
Yeah, and you nailed it. You nailed it. I want this market to marinate. I do think you're right that if Tristan Wirfs is announced in, that it won't matter as much as it will in a month. Sort of like Andrew Thomas being announced in, and he only played that first 26 plays. So I agree with that. I do think there's a changing of the guard. It's like Buka is the number one option, and Evans being out might not be as big of a deal. And the fact that this is a 3.5 that's moved to 3 to 3.5 is a powerful, powerful move. A powerful, powerful move. So I am interested in the Eagles. What's keeping you off them at this point?
I'll probably end up with action on the Eagles. I just struggled to back them just because of how lucky I think they've been, especially this past game, even though the noise adjusted score is pretty much, a tie ball game from last week. I thought the Rams won that game.
Oh, they
beat the Chiefs, but the Cowboys were right there. The delay of the game definitely had some type of impact. It's just hard to read these two teams. They're both 3-0, and I think they could easily be 1-2. Both of them.
And a question from Birdie. He says, Troy, what is leading you to this Eagles defense being good? He says, I'm not seeing it. They've been very mid. I
believe in Vic Fangio. And when push comes to shove, his defense steps up and they get stops. I think that they have all the talent in the world, all the talent they need to be a successful defense. And I don't think that this Bucs offense is very frightening, especially considering their offensive line, considering Mike Evans being out, and considering that they're just way overperforming, from a record standpoint. I don't have a great answer for that, Birdie.
Luce's getting the Eagles -3 behind the hook. Not being involved in that Eagles-Rams game, probably added a year to my life. Let's move on. Troy, doubling up on the unders in Eagles-Bucks. I'm very interested in getting involved. Want to see what happens with the market. And it is clear that the under is a sharp angle because, what we've seen from the Eagles is points will be scored. What we've seen from the Buccaneers and their one home game is that 56 points were scored on a total that was a 41.5. And the fact that it's going to the under is clearly a sharp move. Let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern with the Tennessee Titans 0-3, 0-1 on the road at the Houston Texans 0-3, 0-1 at Home Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. Look, I feel good that I took the Colts to over 7 wins, but I'd feel really good if I took them to win the division. And I did not. And it came up. Somebody was on it. I forget who it was. Somebody mentioned it to me during our future show. I have to go back saying you should probably add that. Might even have been you, Troy. Whatever it was a little too safe here. Luce said, I told you Rams are ass. Oh, hey. Hey. I know what I got with my futures with the Rams, and what I got is good. But here, let's talk about the Titans and the Texans. Also over 9.5 wins. I could have used that win, obviously, but this total is a 38.5. Good God. The look ahead was 40.5. Comes out Sunday night at 40 and drops to 38.5. I like going under low totals, but this one is. I want to talk it out. I was not looking to get under this. The Texans are at -7. Look ahead was 6.5. Comes out on Sunday night as a 7. It's a pretty big move. This 7, by the way, on Monday morning was 9:20 at 9:23 a.m. was a -7 at +100. 2 hours later, it moved 23 cents towards the Texans. That's at the 7 number. That's a huge move. That's not roster related. That's sharp action related. Now it's come back 13 cents, which takes away from it. But still, a 23-cent move at the 7 is a shock giant move. Old E says Texans for Survivor. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this Houston, Tennessee spot. We have 73% of tickets, 73% of cash on Houston. We don't have any cash flow information. For the total. So we'll go over here to action, even though I don't really believe in the numbers that we receive here. But on the spread, we have 53% of tickets and 73% of cash on the Titans. And I could believe that. That's why I thought this sitting at 7 and being juiced towards the Texans was a pretty powerful move. 34% of tickets and 67% of cash on the under. So Kent Davies says OC change. Ward gonna air it out. Jim Dewigger says give me the +7 with Tennessee. Londo says I don't trust Ward or Stroud. They are garbage. I think that's pretty harsh for these 2 young quarterbacks. But you're always welcome to feel it however you feel about these 2 star young quarterbacks. AM's Titans +7 -105 says since 2015, 0-3 teams. The favorite against the spread is 3-3, but the road team is 5-1 against the spread. Titans coming off their 9th straight loss, an ugly 41-20 home loss to the upstart Colts. Cam Ward was 23 of 38 for 219 yards, touchdown and a pick. The interception was on the 3rd offensive play of the game. It was returned 32 yards to the house. It was tough way, and it set the tone of the game. Colts outgained Tennessee in that first quarter, 145-34, and led 17-3. Chico Conquo caught 5 passes for 66 yards. Tony Pollard ran 16 times for 45 yards, and the touchdown, caught 2 passes for 14 yards. They were 5 of 14 on 3rd down, but a perfect 2 for 2 in the red zone. It's not the offense that's holding this team back. It's their defense has been awful. They allowed the Colts to put up 6.9 yards per play. The pass rush was non-existent, 0 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. They did manage to hold them 2 of 4 in the red zone, but they're playing without starters. And don't forget that Cam Ward doesn't have J.C. Latham and Kevin Zeitler. They're both listed as questionable right now, I believe. I'll double check on those 2. But these are huge losses. J.C. Latham, 1st round pick, is supposed to be a beast in this offensive line. The Texans come in off yet another underwhelming performance in the 17-10 loss at Jacksonville. I was so wrong about the game, and it was tough to take. Houston had won 12 of 14 against the Jags. C.J. Stroud was 25 of 38 for 204 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. He also ran 4 times for 22 yards. My friend Mel in the house, thank you for joining us, Mel. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins led receivers with 8 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown. Did lose a fumble. Nick Chubb and Woody Marks combined for 15 carries for 65 yards. The Texans were 4 of 15 on 3rd down, and they only had 1 opportunity in the red zone, finishing 0-1 there. The defense held them in the game, held the Jags to 4 of 15 on 3rd down, but allowed them to go 2 of 3 in the red zone. The pass rush was quiet. 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Jalen Petrie had an interception. Hines Allen was the problem in this football game. And he was matched up against a rookie left tackle in Ursary. It was all Hines Allen was just ruining everything for Stroud. And Stroud had to keep an eye on him at all times, and it was affecting him. Hines Allen finished with 3 quarterback hits, a shared sack. He was just a problem. So Ursery was a second-round pick from Minnesota. He allowed the sack. He was flagged for holding. He allowed a ton of pressures. He was penalized 15 yards for grabbing Campbell's face mask during a running play. And Derek Stingley, their all-pro quarterback, $90 million cornerback, the most expensive quarterback in the league, left the game in the first quarter with an abdominal injury. He returned for the next series, but ended up leaving the game for good, ruled out early in the second half. D'Amico Ryans told reporters yesterday that he's considered day-to-day with an oblique injury. Take it away for us here, Troy. Titans, Texans, very low total.
So I do have action in this game. It's just a teaser with the Texans. There's not a lot of science with matchups and X's and O's to back it up. But what I will say about this market is I think this is going to close between 6.5 and 7.5. When you have home teams that open and close between 6.5 and 7.5, they're not very good ATS. However, and this is what I've talked about before, the lower the total, the more favorable it is for the home favorite. Because in that situation with the total less than 44, the home team is 10-3 ATS, 11-2 straight up, winning by 14.3 points on average. And every time, and basically, basically putting the teaser leg well into profitable territory. I think both these teams are poorly coached after watching them through the first few weeks. Texans defense, maybe not, but the offense with all these penalties, just constant strings of penalties. And they just continue to shoot themselves in the foot, fumbling in the red zone. They can't finish drives inside the 10-yard line. The offensive line cannot pass protect, and I'm very concerned about this team moving in the right direction. I do think that this is a playoff caliber team, but not if this offense continues to operate it the way they have been. Brian Callahan, on the other hand, I think he's the worst coach. This is the worst coach team in the NFL, the Titans. I've talked about it over and over about how my issues with this offense. You got a rookie quarterback. You're not giving him any help from an offensive line. The scheme is not helping. The skill positions are terrible. You could stack the box, force the pass, and the offensive line won't be able to hold up, or the wide receivers won't be able to get open. Cam Ward getting pressured at the highest rate in the NFL. The Titans' defense is better than advertised, but the current grades reflect the league competition playing against the Broncos, the Rams, and the Colts. So they're going to get a much easier matchup here with the Texans. There's not a lot of complexity to it. Looking at this Titans potentially performing good in this game, like they've been having to get ready for these very complex offenses, but they're not going to see any RPO, no read option, bottom 5 in motion rates, and the same packages every week. Like there's really no complexity to this offense. Maybe we see something different this week. I could see that being the case, but I just feel confident that the Texans win this game. I teased the Texans and the Packers down to -1 for -120.
Texans and Packers at -1 for Troy. Texans -1, Packers -1. I'm in the middle of writing or replying to your question, D. Jenkins, but I'll just say it instead of writing it. My first thought, and the question from D. Jenkins, what's your reasoning for why the book's lining Texans -7? My first thought is they want people to bet the Titans. As you know, it's a very strong number for an 0-3 football team. In saying that, they're a pretty easy team to defend. The Jaguars defense is not good, and they certainly look good against the Texans. You have one weapon out wide. I mean, they have more than one, but they have one guy that attracts all the attention, and that's the issue, and that's the problem. Those types of teams are pretty easy to defend.
I didn't know that. What Birdie's talking about right there. They gave up play
CJ
calling.
Gardner-Johnson. Yeah. Yeah, it says if Stingley doesn't play, the secondary may be vulnerable. So I can't bet the Titans, so the coach has got to go. Coach gave up play calling as well today. So, also this under 38.5, usually these very low totals appeal to me enormously. I think that they're so low so that people won't bet them. And my ROI is pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good on them. What do you think of how low this 38.5 is, Troy?
I think the Texans or the Titans are going to score less than 17 points this week. Maybe that is the right way to play it. And
Titans team
that
total
be
under.
the average score for the road team in this game is based on the market is 16.2. They can get.
Do you need Stingley in the lineup?
Man, yeah, I don't know. This game makes me very uncomfortable because I took it in the teeth the past 2 weeks on this Texans team.
Oh, so did I. So did I. I thought the Texans offense would do what the Vikings offense did to the Bengals. The Bengals and the Jaguars to me were in the same boat. The big difference was the Jaguars were going home, the Bengals were on the road, and that's a huge difference. But they were still, I thought of them similarly. So I hammered first half over and full game overs on both those, and I faded them both and ended up, losing a little bit of vig over it. All right, let's roll on. Troy has a Texans -1, Packers -1. I have some interest in what goes on with this total. If Stingley's going to be in, would that then mean a Titans team total under? It probably would. I don't usually bet. I focus my team total unders on favorites that I don't like. So, but if you're very confident in a team not being able to put up points, I have interest here. BJ says Texans need to get better before I put $1 on them, but market says Texans, but he's going to pass. Alondo going to pass. I agree. AM says Titans are live here. This 0-3 at 0-3 sample historically. Let's roll on. We head to afternoon action. That concludes 1 p.m. action. Let's go on 4:05 p.m. Eastern. We have the Colts Rams, SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Ooh-wee. 3-0 Colts, 2-1 Rams. I have season win total overs for both of these football teams. So I guess it can't hurt me too bad unless the Colts win. That would actually, I guess, hurt me but I still think that the Rams can get as long as obviously Stafford stays healthy. Let's take a look at this line right now. We have the look ahead was 5. Obviously, the Colts put up 41 points in Nashville. So this line comes out on when did it exactly come out? I guess it came out on Sunday night late at 4.5. The 4.5 opened up as a pick'em. Within less than an hour, there was a 10-cent move towards the Colts, and then the move went to 3.5. The 3.5 had got started getting juiced up, and then it moved back to 4.5. It's been bouncing all over the place yesterday, and so we're now at 3.5. So since it became available on Sunday night, that's where it was. But still, it's a 1.5 different from the look ahead. Hard, obviously, if it goes to 3, it's a monstrous market call that the Colts are very live, and if it moves to 4.5, it obviously says the opposite. One thing it says is this: there will be points scored. The look ahead was 46.5, and it came out at 46.5 on Sunday night, and now it's a 49.5. This is the biggest point difference. That's not an injury related. Even if the injury related stuff, this is the biggest move on a total that we've seen on this week's card. We get to the cash flow for our first 4 or 5 p.m. spot. We have 50% of the tickets on the Rams and 63% of the cash, 80% of tickets on the over, and 95% of the cash. Shout out to our guy, Just My 2 Cents, the Dana White Contender Series live stream. The boys were getting paid. I love to hear it. And Just My 2 Cents delivering the goods on our live streams for football and on NFL Pub Hub. Thank you, my friend. Spenny Penny Bomb says Jonathan Taylor plus 500 for Offensive Player of the Year is looking real good right now. Says he might bet that this evening. Rams -3.5 for AM. Colts plus 3.5 for Dougie Wise. Tom Leach on the Rams -3.5. And AM says since 2015, 3-0 teams at 2-1 teams. If the 3-0 team is an underdog, they are 1-5 against the spread. That is a beautiful note. Beautiful note. And Drewski on the Rams money line. So Colts coming off a dominant 41-20 victory at Tennessee on Sunday. They're 3-0 for the first time since Peyton Manning led them to the AFC Championship in 2009. Kenny Moore got the party started by picking off Cam Ward on the third offensive play for the Titans and returned it 32 yards to the house. Unfortunately, he sustained a calf injury in the game, so he's expected to miss a couple weeks. So that's a big loss. Then they outgained Tennessee 145-34 in the first quarter, led 17-3. We're in complete control. Danny Dimes, 18 of 25 for 228 yards and a touchdown. Is Danny Dimes in the running for most valuable player talk is around. It's being bantered about. Michael Pittman caught 6 passes for 73 yards and a touchdown. Alec Pierce caught 4 for 67, but then he entered concussion protocol. So Kenny Moore, you have Alec Pierce with concussion protocol. Jonathan Taylor ran 17 times for 102 yards, 3 touchdowns, caught 3 for 16. He's a beast. Colts were just 2 of 8 on third down, but they did go 2 of 2 on fourth down. They were also just 2 of 4 in the red zone. And the defense allowed the Titans to go 2 of 2 in the red zone, but they were in control all game. Pass rush was strong, finishing with 4 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. So also, Alec Pierce is not the only Colt in concussion protocol. So is cornerback Charvarius Ward. He cleared concussion protocol on Saturday. He played in the game. And then he is back in it. He got hurt in the fourth quarter. So it's unclear what's going on with him. I couldn't get more information. Birdie says, man, this Colts team seems to be on the same trajectory as Washington last year. I don't think taking points with the Colts is a play. You just take a money line. Says Colts are legit. Here we go. The Rams coming off a heartbreaking 33-26 loss to the defending champion Eagles, 26-7 at one point in the third period. With 3 seconds left, they're lining up for the game-winning 44-yard field goal, and Jordan Davis blocks it, returns at 61 yards. Unbelievable. They outgained the Eagles 356-288. Stafford was 19 of 33 for 196 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Puka Nacua caught 11 for 112. You were so right about him. I laughed when you said that. When you first said that after 2 games, you're like, he's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. I was like, come on, man. But a wide receiver knows, and you were a All-American wide receiver, and you knew. Kyron Williams ran 20 times for 94 yards, caught 2 passes for 18 yards and a touchdown. The defense was strong until late in the game, held the Eagles to just 5 of 14 on third down, allowed them to go 4 of 5 on fourth. The game was lost in the red zone. The Rams offense was just 1 of 4. That's a problem. They allowed the Eagles to go 3 of 3. Pass rush had 4 sacks. Steve Avila missed the game with an ankle injury. He's listed as questionable. And of course, Akilo Witherspoon is going to be out for a while. I mean, if he comes back, it'll be late in the season with that collarbone injury. Take it away for us here, Troy. We have cappers on either side of the fence, Colts, Rams.
Here we are, once again, looking at a 3 and a 3.5. So you already know what side I'm looking towards. The only difference in this market is when the home team is the favorite, 3.5, instead of the home team being the dog, 3.5. It's the same result. The home team is cashing. Even if the market's moving towards the road team, they're cashing at ridiculous rates. And the only difference is instead of the home dog, when the home dog is 3.5, you see unders. When the home team's favorite, 3.5, you see over. So I'm just going to I have to call this out because I think it's just shocking to me. Home teams that open between 3.5 and 4.5, but close between 3 and 4. The market in this situation is only 25% accurate. The home team is 35 and 24 ATS. That's 60%. They're 73% straight up. 37 and 23 to the over. That's 62%. The market's also moving to the over. 14 and 5 ATS. 17 and 3 straight up. 14 and 6 to the over. And if the market is moving towards the road team, 9 and 3 ATS, 11 and 2 straight up, 9 and 4 to the over. The trend gets significantly better when the total's above 44. It goes to undefeated when it's above 48. So I love the over in this game, and I really want to back the Rams. And I'm considering maybe moving on it now. Maybe it's a money line parlay piece. Maybe I'm looking for big plus money with the Eagles, even though I'm probably going to stay away from that. So a lot to think about here, man. I think that this is going to be a major test for both teams. For one, the Colts offense, and for two, the Rams defense. Because the Colts, I mean, they're going to roll out a scheme that this Rams team has not seen yet. Heavy read option, RPO, play action, polarized with deep shots and short passes. And this is the best defense that I think this team has seen, even better than, in my opinion, the Broncos defense, because they're very predictable. You know, this is a Colts team that's using read option and RPO on 20% of its snaps. Play action on approximately 40% of its dropbacks, number 1 in the NFL. And the Rams D is top 10 in every PFF category. But this is the best offense that this team has seen so far. And this is why I loved, I've been backing the Colts all the way up until this point, 3 weeks in a row, is because I believe what we've seen from Steichen's offense is sustainable. And what Steichen wants to do is reduce the impact of a competent edge rusher. And we have two great edge rushers, and using RPO, using play action, using read option is going to take that strength away from them. So I think that there is an opportunity for this Colts offense to have success. We also, the best way to stop this type of scheme is by playing man coverage. The Rams play zone at the 5th highest rate in the NFL. Why does man coverage stop this type of scheme? It's because you can clearly define the edge rusher's assignment. And you can man up on the quarterback, which you'll see a lot of teams do for mobile quarterbacks that play man defense. The Colts defense, on the other hand, is only 15th per PFF. We need more information to really properly assess this unit. But, the Dolphins, the Broncos, the Titans, who is this defense? I don't think we know very much yet. The D-line is great against the run, but they cannot rush the passer very well. The secondary is vastly improved, mixing in quarters with some cover 3, but I'm still reluctant to call this defense very good. And the linebacker group is the worst performing linebacker group in the season, this season so far. I just think, looking at the matchup, looking at the market and the market history, the best play in this game is the over. I already moved on the over 48 at -115. And I think I'm going to have to grab a 49 just to round out my action here. Because I am very confident that we're going to see points. Now the only question I have is, do I need to back the Rams? Because I think I have to back the Rams in this spot.
It's interesting. Again, we have so many different sites that give you the information on ticket count. So when someone else has a different read on the ticket count, when I say, well, this is what I'm reading, I don't mean you're wrong or anything like that. But I have on the board that I trust the most, it's a 50-50 ticket count, and bigger bets have come in on the Rams, 50-50. On the site that I don't quite trust, they have the Colts very public, over 60% now for the ticket count. So there's nothing that I've got, Dougie-wise, that intimates that the Rams are public. And I don't expect them to be, but I don't expect the Colts to stay over 60% either. I think that this should be pretty even here. I love that you got the over 48. At what point do you think it's gone too high, or do you not?
Hey, I don't think I'm. So let's see. Because like I was saying, once we get over 48, all we've seen was it's not that big of a sample here, but because I have it filtered down to moving towards the road team and the over, and above 48, which is 2 games, and the combined 65 points, and both of these games were primetime games as well. Lions Packers 65 points, and Bengals Broncos 60 points.
Yeah. We have a third site now in VEASAN reporting that the Colts are public. So what site, Dougie-wise? I'd be curious to hear what sites. Now we have 3 different sites saying that the Colts are public. But
I'm grabbing an over 49 as well in this spot.
So in this spot too, just for our knowledge here, you don't look for a first half over as part of the double up.
It's weird because a lot of other sports, you'll see me trying to look towards the first 5 in the MLB or the first half in NCAA. But when it comes to the database in the NFL, I feel so confident in the full game. And I have not had success really with first half totals. So maybe it's a very small sample. I don't bet a lot of them. So it's a very small sample, but I just trust the full game market.
Over 49, what juice are you getting?
-117.
All right, let's roll on here.
Wait. Are you interested in the Rams?
I need this market to marinate. And honestly, at this point in the season, I want to watch these teams play. I don't feel like I have. Look, I was high on both of these teams, and I was right. Should the Colts be? If the Colts go down to a field goal against the Rams, the market is telling us this is a playoff football team, a danger in the playoffs too. If the Rams go to a 4, it means they're going to take care of business here at home. agree that points will be scored, that these offenses are too legit. And watching this move from, this is the biggest move of any total here. Is it the ass end of the line, or is it still ripe for over? I guess I'd like to join you on the over. I mean, that's the market is screaming that at us. It's yelling for all of the totals on the board. They're saying this over is a smash and grab. I would also, though, be surprised if it goes higher than this. I mean, could the line move more than 3 points?
Not very often.
Oh.
But we do see it actually get out of hand a little bit above the 50. Like once it ticks above 50, sometimes it gets a little ridiculous. And the key number here is, after 48, it's really 51.
Londo liking the over 2. Room to run, looking at that over 48.5 minus 115 at FanDuel right now. Oof. That's a nice number. That is a nice number. All right. Bojica says, give me the better quarterback.
Yeah. I'm also seeing at Action Network 40% of bets, 76% of cash on the over. We've seen on Action, it's been heavy under bets and cash.
And Gorky says Colts are a good team, but Rams are a team on another level with higher expectations. Vincent Hawkins says if Ward and Moore are out, Rams team total over for me. That is a huge angle. You're absolutely right. If Moore is out and also Charvarius Ward, we're going to get that information. We'll have a real sense of it with the Wednesday injury report. All right, let's roll on. 4:05 p.m. Eastern, the Jacksonville Jaguars 2-1, 0-1 on the road. San Francisco 49ers 3-0, 1-0 at home at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. 71 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 mile per hour winds. We expect Brock Purdy to play, but he's going to practice this week, and something can go wrong. They really trust Mac, so we'll have to see what happens in practice. The look ahead was a 45. This came out on Monday morning at 7:40 a.m. at that 45, and now we have a 47, and it's juiced to the over. So it's not only telling you that Purdy will play, but it's also telling you, despite the injuries and Bosa, we'll talk about all of this. Bosa being out, they didn't have Jawan Jennings last week, that the Jaguars defense doesn't travel, or the Texans are anemic offensively. You get Jacksonville on the road, and Jake Browning puts up, massive numbers against you. And it's probably indicating that an over should be bet. From a side perspective here, we have the Niners -3 at -115. That look ahead was exactly that. Then on Monday morning at 7:40 a.m., it comes out as a 4. So it's moved a full point towards Jacksonville since it came out on Monday morning. Then we have the cash flow here. We can look at a couple different sites if we don't get – but we do have double up. I'd rather just focus on this board here, which is a poor man's odds logic. 77% of the tickets, 79% of the cash on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The vaunted public dog. I don't know if you call it a public dog on Tuesday. It's like the cappers getting their action in on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. These aren't the wreck idiots. These are cappers who care very much about their action. But at this point, 77% of tickets, 79% of cash on Jacksonville. 66% of tickets, 86% of cash is on the over. Jacksonville comes in off a big 17 victory at home over the Texans. Houston beating them 12 out of 14. It was Jacksonville's first home win against the Texans since 2017. Trevor Lawrence 20 of 40 for 222 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interceptions. I really liked that he was in Azeez Al-Shair's face. I want to see that from him. Don't get bullied. He said we're not going to get bullied. I respect that. Brenton Strange caught 6 passes for 61 yards. Brian Thomas Jr. caught 2 for 55. Had a bad drop, but got it back. Travis Etienne ran 16 times for 56 yards. I'm waiting for him to turn back into a pumpkin. I know we had very high hopes of him when he came out of Clemson, but they all went away. And he's looked pretty good this year. Jags went 2 of 3 in the red zone. The defense held the Texans to 4-15 on third down and offered them just 1 failed attempt in the red zone. Is that the Texans offense being terrible, or the Jacksonville Jaguars defense being good. Jacksonville finished with 3 takeaways for the 3rd straight game. That's the first time they've ever in their franchise history had 3 takeaways in 3 straight games to start a season. Jordan Lewis, Antonio Johnson had interceptions, and we talked a little bit about how Josh Hines-Allen really controlled the game from the pass rush. He led the way, and the pass rush had 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. He's 2 sacks away from breaking the franchise record set by Tony Brackens in 2003. And Giammi Brown injured his left shoulder. He ended up in the locker room, was ruled out. He's listed as questionable this week. He's a big piece of this puzzle for them. The 49ers coming off a 16-15 home victory over the Cardinals, and it was very costly. They lose Nick Bosa for the season with an ACL injury. First-round pick Michael Williams is day-to-day with a wrist injury. I really respected the fact that he came back into the game. And if Bosa wasn't hurt, I don't know if he comes back into the game. Then defensive tackle CJ West suffered a broken thumb. He's already had surgery on it, so he's going to be out an extended period. Cornerback Renardo Green is managing a neck injury. He's day-to-day. Juwan Jennings missed the game with an ankle injury. Of course, they're still without Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. 2 weeks ago, they lost, well, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, they lost offensive tackle Spencer Burford, and they lost guard Ben Barch to the IR. That is a lot, man. That is a lot to deal with. Brock Purdy missed the game with a toe injury. We expect him to be back this week. They may need him because Mac Jones aggravated a PCL injury. So it's possible that Mac Jones isn't going to be practicing this week, which would then Purdy's going to play almost for sure. And Mac Jones played great, and he played great after the injury. That game-winning drive was absolutely beautiful. He was in complete control, 27-41, 284 yards, touchdown, interception. The Niners outgained the Cardinals 355-260. All of you guys who said Ricky Pearsall was going to step up in this game, you nailed it. He was excellent. 8 catches for 117 yards. Christian McCaffrey caught 10 for 88, ran 17 times for 52 yards. His numbers on the ground still aren't very good thus far, but he's balancing that with great numbers, getting passes. The offense came through late, but did struggle throughout. 2 of 10 on third down, 1 of 4 in the red zone. The defense did enough to get the Niners to the win. They held the Cardinals to 5 of 17 on third and fourth down and 1-3 in the red zone. But the pass rush struggled without Bosa and Mikel Williams dealing with his wrist injury. Finished 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits. And Eddie Pinheiro has them believing. Jake Moody had them closing their eyes when he would kick a game. And now they believe that Eddie Pinheiro is going to hit that winning field goal. And Eddie Pinheiro is so excited to be playing. He was week 1. He's watching on his couch. Take it away for us here, Troy. Jaguars, Niners.
I mean, this is a very similar market to what we just seen. Moving down to the 3, immediately this is a 49ers are passed by. Why are the Niners laying 3 with Bosa being out? And the fact that the market's also moving to the over only helps the profile, even if the market's moving towards the road team in this situation. So this is the 49ers are pass, an over a pass situation. But I don't know if I really want to get involved because the Jaguars just might be my kryptonite. I paid them. They pull out a gritty win. I backed them. They fold late against the bottom of the barrel team with their backup quarterback. I just feel like, I had to retrace back to week 1 when I was talking about this Jag and the Futures episode. My original assessment on this team is probably right. It's a defense with upside, currently grading out number 2 overall, but you have to adjust that because they faced the Panthers, the Bengals without their quarterback, and the Texans. So it's still to be determined, but they do have, Trayvon Walker and Hines-Allen have been terrific in the trenches. They do have some good players in the secondary. They do have some athleticism at linebacker, and I like the scheme. Cover 2, cover 4, cover 6, 2 high safety, a lot of zone coverage, but a lot of different coverages that you could mix in there. The offensive line is actually grading out pretty damn well for this Jaguars team. But again, they did just play the Texans now. They just play the Texans. They're top 10 in both pass block and run block per PFF. That tells us 2 things. The scheme is flawed, which I don't want to believe the case with Cohen, or the quarterback is flawed, and I think that's the case here. Trevor Lawrence, he's going to make those 1 or 2 dumb decisions where he just has a read. He wants to throw the ball to a specific place, specific receiver, specific spot on the field, and he just cannot get off it no matter what coverage he sees. It reminds me of Geno Smith, where he just cannot help himself but make that mistake. And I think the 49ers are another team where we're uncertain of the caliber. Despite the 3-0 record, the Seahawks, the Saints, and the Cardinals, and they're very lucky to be 3-0. The offensive line is just like the Jaguars, grading out in the top 10 in both categories. Good weapons, obviously a great scheme, average quarterback play, but the defense, I think, is going to take a massive hit. when you lose a pass rusher the likes of Bosa, it's going to impact every level on the defense. So that's going to be something they have to deal with. I don't know a lot about these teams. I feel like even through 3 weeks, I don't know enough to move on this game with any comfortability. I do have reservations to potentially make bets on the Rams and on the Eagles, but definitely not in this game. This is going to be a pass for me.
I'm so interested to see what this pass rush looks like. I mean, I find it obviously it's Mykel Williams, and he's dealing with the wrist injury right now. I mean, you don't want to see Gross Matos out there. Kalia Davis, Jordan Elliott, Bryce Huff. What the hell are they going to do? And so I agree that this 3, if the 3 gets more juiced, is appealing, but it has gone from 4 to 3.
Right. Which actually historically plays to the favor of the 49ers. And then that blows up to like an 8-1 sample where as long as it don't open above 6, of course, I'm omitting the numbers that open above 6. But when the market's also moving to the over, the home team is just cleaned up. Yeah, Warner and Winters just savages at linebacker.
Yeah, they're monsters. I mean, Warner's just simply spectacular. We've seen the Jaguars on the road once, and it was horrific.
Good
so
point.
It makes the Niners appealing, but with the injuries that the Niners are dealing with, it made the Jaguars appealing. And when that sort of thing happens, I generally want to just stay off. I do think, though, that this move to the over is pretty blatant. I mean, wouldn't you say it's a
very, very blatant?
And that should probably be bet. And D. Jenkins says that makes him like the over. Do you think that it's now? Look, the 49ers offense wasn't moving smoothly without Burford and Barch on the offensive line. Purdy can probably make something out of nothing because I still believe that the Jags defense, they got to prove that they can defend on the road. It's just this is a bullish move to the over. And it should probably be bet. I mean, they're telling you that Purdy's going to be back. The pass rush isn't going to affect Trevor Lawrence too much without Bosa. We'll have to see what they do, if they change their plan, knowing that they don't have, a bulldog like Bosa in the front. It's such a the 49ers have done nothing offensively. They're coming off a game where there was 31 points scored, and it was right here in this ballpark. And now we have 47. The Jaguars are coming off a game where there was 27 points. I'm betting it tonight. It's just too blatant. It's just too blatant.
I just have so much uncertainty. I'm going to mark it down, but I'm not going to move yet tonight.
I am. It's just too blatant. I am going to move. All right, let's roll on. And finally, the only game that I came with investments. Finally. What a beautiful opportunity we have to go back to fading the Chiefs. Oh, man, is this lovely. I bet the Ravens -2.5, -120. I bet the Ravens double result at +162. What a glorious, glorious opportunity. Cheshire, I know that these are your Chiefs. So I know it's probably not a comfortable thing that I'm saying here. And I imagine that you are on the other side. But for me, this is just glorious. Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri, 81 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 3-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history here. We have a total at 48.5. 48.5. This opened up, or the look ahead was 48. Opened up on Monday morning at 10:36 a.m. because the Ravens played the Ravens played the the Monday nighter, but it still opened up yesterday morning, 10:36 a.m. 48 went up to 48.5. So there we go. Let's get the point spread up here for this one. Of course, the Ravens on a short week. This opened up with Baltimore. The look ahead was -3. It came out Sunday night at 3, 2.5, 3, bouncing all over the place. It's actually moved 4 cents since I bet it, which I don't really like here. He says, Josh says, you're not an idiot, but this is a bet you will lose. Well, I can work with that. That doesn't sound too horrible. Let's get to the cash flow here for this one. 51% of the tickets and 66% of the cash is on the Ravens. We don't have any information on the total at that site, so we'll move over to action to get more information. Here we have 37% of tickets on the Ravens and 57% of cash. That's a really wonderful place to be at. You have 74% of tickets and 67% of cash on the under. Ravens on a short week after their tough 38-30 loss at home to the Lions on Monday night. We faded them. I didn't have the money line like Troy, but I did have 5, and then I doubled down on 4.5. It was only their 4th loss in 26 primetime games under Johnny Harbaugh. Lions outgained the Ravens 426-318. Lamar Jackson was 21-27 for 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran 7 times for 35 yards. He did fumble, but the Ravens were able to recover it. Derrick Henry ran 12 times for 50 yards and a touchdown, and he lost a fumble at his own 16-yard line. His second fourth quarter fumble through 3 games. In his previous 9 seasons, he's lost 2 fourth quarter fumbles in 136 games. The Ravens have struggled on the ground over the last 2 games. The Lions outrushed the Ravens 224-85. The offensive line couldn't handle the Lions' pass rush, allowing 7 sacks. With Isaiah Likely starting the season on the sidelines with a foot injury, Mark Andrews caught 6 passes for 91 yards, 2 touchdowns, lead receivers. Bateman caught 5 for 63 and a touchdown. The Ravens were just 2 of 4 in the red zone. The Ravens' defense has been torched through 3 games this year. I mean, you could say they weren't torched by the Browns, but the Browns deserved a much better fate than a 41-17 score. The Lions got whatever they wanted. 7-14 on 3rd down, perfect 3-3 on 4th down. They allowed the Lions to go 4 or 5 in the red zone. The Ravens' pass rush was nowhere to be found. They were really missing Madubuike, who was out with a neck injury. He's listed as questionable this week. He was not the only important pass rusher out. Kyle Van Noy missed the game with a hamstring injury. He's also listed as questionable this week. They did not record a sack, although they did get 5 quarterback hits. At this point, it appears the Ravens didn't suffer any new injuries last night. The 4 players who missed last night's game with the questionable tag, Van Noy, Patrick Ricard. Ricard hasn't played yet this year. Madubuike and Isaiah Likely, who hasn't played yet this year, all carry the same designation this week. A Fireside says Ravens defense is broken. Their ability to manage the clock with such an explosive offense is really poor. Spenny says, I don't trust the Kansas City D much more than the Ravens, and KC can move the ball on this terrible Ravens secondary. Rick T says Ravens and Chiefs are household names. Best bet is the under, but Lucky Power on the over. I am on the Baltimore Ravens. I think this is so fucking easy. That's what I think. I think this is really easy. Chiefs coming off an underwhelming 22-9 victory at the Giants on Sunday night. They avoided what would have been their first 0-3 start since 2011, 2 years before Reed took over. Both teams averaged 4.6 yards per play. I don't know if the Chiefs make the playoffs. I still love watching Mahomes at quarterback lead this. I mean, imagine if Mahomes was on the Giants and Russell Wilson was on the Chiefs, the Giants would have won 22-9. Mahomes was 22 of 37 for 224 yards and a touchdown. He did fumble twice, was fortunate not to lose any of them. For the first time this season, Mahomes didn't lead this horribly weak running attack. Pacheco had 10 carries for 45 yards. Tyquan Thornton caught 5 for 71 yards touchdown to lead receivers. That will help them. Chiefs were 8 of 15 on 3rd down, 2 of 3 in the red zone. The defense was strong against a weak offense. They held the Giants to 1 of 10 on 3rd down and 1 of 3 in the red zone. Nick Bolton had 14 tackles. He's a beast. Pass rush had 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Now they allowed the Giants to do the exact same thing. Giants had 2 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. The secondary was strong. We've seen that this year. It's their strong point. They Malik Neighbors had the ball thrown at him 7 times. He made 2 catches for 13 yards. They locked down Neighbors a week after holding A.J. and Brown and Devonta Smith to 9 catches for 80 yards. Roland Wallace and Jalen Watson had interceptions. Xavier Worthy missed a 2nd consecutive game with a shoulder injury. We got to keep an eye on him. Rashee Rice continues to serve a 6-game suspension. Oh, I just think this is so easy. Troy Torrance, take it away. I'm on the Ravens -2.5 and the Ravens double result.
I was driving back from the hotel back home to do this show today, and I was listening to used to be the Favorites podcast, and they were talking about this game, and the guy, you know, on the show was just talking about how this line is so short, how easy it is to take the Chiefs, how the bookies like the Chiefs in this spot. I just didn't agree with that sentiment at all. You're looking at 2 1-2 teams. You're looking at a Chiefs team that has this history of winning under a 3-point spread. You have the Chiefs who have a Super Bowl contenders. The Chiefs are a public team, regardless of how they started this season. Especially when you look at the Chiefs and how they perform versus the Ravens, I can imagine the Chiefs there's going to be quite a lot of action on the Chiefs at this number. I don't think it matters that it's under 3 or above 3. Like, I still think that this market is pretty favorable, knowing that both these teams are 1-2. Neither have looked really good. And I think that the Chiefs bouncing back against NYG, that it just offers a great opportunity because what they did was not impressive. Both teams averaged 4.6 yards per play. The difference was third downs and red zone efficiency. And you can't trust Russell Wilson. I mean, we knew that was coming. And the Chiefs, again, lost the battle in the trenches. They cannot run the football. And who said that in chat? Someone was talking about AM. AM brought it up. Who leads the Chiefs in rushing this season? Patrick Mahomes with 125 yards. They're terrible at the tackle position. They lack weapons all over the field. Worthy back in the offense does not concern me all that much. And the Ravens offense, on the other hand, I mean, it's second to none. I know they've had their issues. They were very frustrated yesterday. The very athletic Lions defensive line did a great job at keeping contained on Lamar. Defensively, obviously, is where I have issues with this Ravens team. Blatantly trying to play cover 2 against the Lions because that's where Jared Goff has struggled against zone in the past. And he's trying to cherry pick a scheme from Hafley in week 1. He was literally trying to run an inverted zone. And every time you've seen that Packers look, Goff was ready for it. Goff did his homework. He knew how to be prepared for that moment because he knew that type of scheme was going to be pulled back out, because when you see a team struggling versus that, you know it's coming back out eventually. And it came back out. Goff delivered. I don't trust this Ravens defense, but this is a perfect setup. I'm right there with you on the Ravens -2.5. 2 quality teams that are 1-2 this season. The Ravens have 3x revenge on this Chiefs team. And, the Ravens, here's what it really came down to for me. The Ravens have taken 2 L's this season against 2 of the top 3 offenses in the NFL. This is a situation where I do not believe the Chiefs are going to be able to maintain and to keep up with the Ravens' offensive output. So I'm on the Ravens -2.5.
What juice did you get?
-115.
Good job. Yeah, I could have timed it better, but I just wanted in so bad.
Well, the public books, like especially with games like this, you'll find a better line on the public shops.
This is so much fun. Like, it's fun. Like, it's fun that Cheshire thinks we're nuts. Like, that it adds fun. Like, we don't take any offense.
He's part of the Pfizer game. He's a huge Taylor Swift guy. Take Travis Kelce, and all.
Cheshire Cat, the Chiefs have been so good to us.
You already know you're going to lose.
They've made us so much money. Fading them
playoffs yet, Cheshire.
Fading them, and then fading them weeks 1 and 2, and then backing them week 3, and then fading them week 4. Thank God for the Chiefs. I think I've been wearing that Chiefs hat because I made so much money off. I don't think it's on the wall anymore. Been fucking wearing it proudly, Cheshire. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. So for me, that's the best bet on the board. I can't wait. I wish it was our Sunday nighter, but It's all good. It's all good. All right, we roll on here. But anything for the total? I don't even want to get involved in the total. I just want the Ravens to win this game. Like
it seems too high with the Chiefs and their offense, and
it does seem too high.
It does seem too high.
Would you be? I don't want to get in the way. When I have an angle I really, really like, I try not to do anything to get in the way of the bag, and that's what I was thinking here. Kind of moving past the total.
What'd you get on the double result?
Plus 162.
Might have to join you.
Plus 162. I guess the under would be the spot, wouldn't it? But then you'd have to really, really hope that the Chiefs defense steps up in a huge way. And my fear would be that they don't, and Mahomes and the Chiefs have to put points up, which they can do against the Ravens. So I don't think I want to get involved here. I don't want to get involved here. Birdie says, "What's your angle in this game?" We still have our game up here. It's simple for me. Again, I think the best way of explaining it is that if Mahomes was the quarterback of the Giants would have beaten the Chiefs 22-9. Mahomes is brilliant, even with the great Spagnuolo and the great Andy Reid. It doesn't matter. The Chiefs, with their injuries at wide receiver, even if Xavier Worthy came back, it doesn't matter. The Chiefs don't have the skill. They create a situation where, and I love watching them because Mahomes is brilliant, and he's got to be. He's got to be absolutely phenomenal for them to be a 500 team this year. I've watched every second of their football games this year with great joy, and I've made a ton of money. I think they're the most predictable football team in the NFL. So the angle is that this is a very angry Ravens group, and they're much better roster than the Chiefs. And they're angry, which kind of takes away from the short week. The Chiefs are the easiest team in the NFL for me to cap right now. You've
always, Jimmy, your ROI on Chiefs games is ridiculous.
It's
ridiculous.
It's been great. It's been great. I think they're the most predictable team in the NFL to predict. And Mahomes is brilliant. And I love watching him with this. They have a below average roster. Now maybe that changes with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, but their running game, I mean, everybody's overvalued. The whole entire offense is overvalued because of Mahomes' brilliance. So let's roll on. And Cheshire says Mahomes better than Lamar Jackson. Maybe. He's brilliant. He's spectacular. Imagine if Mahomes was the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Ravens don't seem to be as good as they seem to be less than the sum of their parts. So, we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's roll on here. Next up for us, Bears Raiders, 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. The Bears went from favorite to dog, but it was clear that it was the perfect buy low situation for them. But I still am not. I don't have the confidence to invest and say no. The market's wrong.
Wait. You said the Bears went from favorite to dog.
Yeah. I'm talking last week.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I still don't have I knew, and I told you guys this was the buy low spot for the Bears. So I picked them in pools, but who cares if you pick in a pool? I didn't bet them, and I didn't have the balls to bet them. And, it would have been an easy casher. Coming off a big 31-14 victory at home over the Cowboys. The Raiders were so much worse than I expected. I was so wrong about the Raiders-Commanders game. It was just so wrong. I don't remember I was so wrong on that game and the Texans-Jacksonville Jaguars game that it almost doesn't matter what you're right about. All you can think about is what you were wrong about. This total opened up the look ahead was 46.5. It comes out yesterday morning at 47.5, climbs up to 48, 48.5, then drop back to 48. I look at this as a half-point move to the over, but it's a 1.5 move to the over from the look ahead. Let's get to the point spread here in this one. We have the We have a pick'em right now, minus 115. The Bears open up a plus 2.5, and now they're a pick'em. I mean, it's just the exact same situation as what we just dealt with. I mean, I don't know anybody in the world that wants to buy the Bears high. I'm sure there are still always going to be people who will buy the Raiders low, but the Raiders have really done nothing to inspire confidence. But I think at some point I should just let these market moves, like the Cowboys Bears market move, just explain them and fade them. And I think that's probably my next step, as a capper in NFL, because I trust the market quite a bit. I know how much money they win in NFL, and I know how the public loses their shirt, and books will make 90+% of their money all year on football. So I'm very hesitant to fade the market. 79% of the tickets and 86% of cash on the Bears. I mean, how in the world do you not want to fade that? I just want to fade that so badly. The offense looked really good against a horrific Cowboys defense. Now you could say, well, the Raiders defense sucks, and you'd be absolutely right. So look, I didn't come here with Raiders action. Bears averaged 6.8 yards per play. Caleb Williams was 19 of 28 for 298 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Luther Burden, a second-round pick out of Missouri, 3 catches for 101 yards and touchdown. Roma Dunze was next, 3 catches for 62 yards, touchdown. That's his 4th touchdown of the year. Dunze rolling. DeAndre Swift ran 13 times for 33 yards, caught 3 passes for 45 yards, 9 of 15 on 3rd and 4th down, 2 of 3 in the red zone. Should I care about any of those statistics? Should I, against the Cowboys defense at home? No, I mean, I guess you care that Luther Burden is now going to give them another option, but what else should I care about? The defense bent but didn't break. Cowboys put up 396 yards, and CeeDee Lamb was only there for the first quarter, part of the first quarter. Held them to 3 of 11 on 3rd down, 1 of 4 in the red zone. Well, that was good. Pass rush finished with 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Despite injuries to hugely important members of the secondary, cornerbacks Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon, the Bears picked off Dak Prescott 3 times. Tremaine Edwards picked them off twice. Kevin Byard also had one. Tight end Colston Loveland was hurt in the first half. They say he has avoided a severe hip injury, and he has a chance to gain clearance in time to suit up Sunday versus the Raiders. I find that hard to believe, but that's what they're saying. TJ Edwards, inactive. He's again listed as questionable with a hamstring injury. The Raiders coming off an extremely ugly 41-24 loss at Washington. They allowed the quarterback and Marcus Mariota, who hadn't started a game since 2022, to get whatever he wanted. It was nuts. Geno Smith was 19 of 29 for 289 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, but they weren't in the game ever. The offensive line couldn't protect Geno. Washington sacked him 5 times. Trey Tucker, 8 catches for 145 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's a beast. Ashton Genty has some actually impressive stats. Like if you read, nobody's been hit earlier. Like the contact comes earlier than any other running back in the entire NFL, and he's been delivering. He's been better than the numbers indicate. The Raiders put up 354 yards, but were 3 of 14 on 3rd down. They did go 2 of 3 in the red zone. Defense was awful. Let the Commanders back up, put up 7.4 yards per play. Washington had 174 yards on the ground in the first half. Well, we know that the Raiders got busted up on the ground. Absolutely busted up on the ground. Can the Bears do that to him with DeAndre Swift? I'll tell you, the answer is no. No. They can't. Could he have a decent game? Okay. But they can't do that. DeAndre Swift is not capable. Now, look at the running backs who did it to the Raiders, and they were, questionable running backs that did it to him. Max Crosby had a sack and 2 quarterback hits. The rest of the team had 0 sacks and 1 quarterback hit. Yeah, that's a problem. Crosby also led the team in tackles with 7. Should a defensive end be leading your team in tackles? No. There's a ton of problems here. And tight end Michael Mayer left with a concussion. So he's in concussion protocol. Troy, I want the Raiders. Take it away.
Yeah, I want the Raiders too. And sometimes I start chuckling there because sometimes if you ever see me stop at my tracks when I'm giving my spiels, because Jimmy had already covered a lot of what I was going to say, and you did it right here, man. And I want to touch on the market because I find it absolutely fascinating. Home teams that close between +1 and +1.5 with the market moving to the over, 20-4, 86% to the under. Home teams between +2 and -2. Let's get the range a little bit wider. And the market moving to the over in non-conference, 18-5 to the under. And both those samples definitely favor the home team. You plug in the cash flow, it favors the home team to an overwhelming extent. So I would say that immediately off the bat, I'm looking to the under, and I'm looking towards the Raiders in this matchup. The Bears and Caleb Williams, I mean, I think that they've looked better each week of the season so far. Caleb visibly trying to settle down in the pocket, because the first game of the season, he completed 2 passes from the pocket. So you could definitely tell that he's making a concerted effort to stay in the pocket, deliver from the ball from there. The Ben Johnson scheme is starting to come to life. We've seen a little trickery. We've seen some complex type of schemes and motions. But the lack of an ability to run the ball, I think that's more so on the RBs, because the offensive line is actually grading out pretty damn well. And I think that the scheme for the offensive line is there. The offense is getting better, still not buttoned up as I'd like it to be, and mainly because they can't run the damn ball. And even when they do run the ball, it doesn't look like something that's going to be sustainable. The Bears defense, I mean, they need to slowly transition back to zone coverage. Without Jalen Johnson, without Gordon, it does not make sense to play man-to-man. And that's Dennis Allen's forte. I don't see any good matchups at linebacker if they want to play man for Bowers. We did see a cover, basically we did see a cover 3 scheme a little bit versus Dallas after the first quarter, which didn't have positive results. Maybe that's in the cards moving forward. Dennis Allen finally admitting we can't play man defense. We'll see. There's a lot to figure out with this Bears team. And the Raiders, I mean, they're in bad standing on both sides of the ball. Offensive line that I thought had upside is getting completely obliterated. They can't generate line yards for Genty. Geno Smith, I mean, he continues to bait and switch the market. Every year with Geno Smith, you hear guys talk about how he does. He shows glimpses of glory. There's things you could like about Geno Smith and say, wow, that was super impressive. But then he slowly reverts back to average, clearly identifiable. I talked about it when I was talking about, making the corollary quarterback between Trevor Lawrence and Geno Smith. I'm not going to be fooled by Geno Smith. I think he's an average quarterback. And the Raiders defense is what we thought it was going to be. They're bad run defense. They're bad pass rush. They're bad in coverage. And this is against, a pretty decent strength of schedule with the Patriots, Chargers, and Commanders. But the Raiders defense certainly isn't as bad as the Cowboys defense. So it's really, I feel like this is a game that's really hard to measure. I do lean towards the Raiders. I do lean towards the under. I haven't, the reason I haven't moved on the Raiders is because I don't trust Geno Smith at all. And the reason I haven't moved on the under is because this market's moving towards the over, but you plug that in and you just see the history of this market playing to the under. So I'm leaning towards the under. I have not moved on it yet, though, Jim.
Yeah, I think that the total or the idea that the under is in play feels like it's a bit beyond my pay grade. To really have an expectation for the Raiders offense or their defense for that matter is very tricky. But the main thing I can hang my hat on in this game is I'm taking advantage of what happened last week. And I should have done that by backing the Bears last week, taking advantage of what happened the week before. And this is the exact same situation where I'm going to stop. I'm going to explain why the line is moving towards the Bears, and I'm going to bet against them. The question I have, though, and it's an important one, I was talking to Wager Detective in the chat about it, is do we wait? Because we're almost at a flat pick 'em almost. So there's been a 2.5 point move to the Bears. Do the Bears become favorites? And if they do, that would be a much better gambling situation. So do you think that the Bears needed to win that game over the Cowboys so badly. It was a powder keg type situation. The coaching staff needed it so badly. Their number 1 overall quarterback needed it so bad. They all needed it so badly. Well, they got it. Feel good about themselves. Light up a big cigar, have a drink, put your feet up. And the Raiders are coming in here, and they are now the powder keg. They now need this so badly. The coaching staff needs this so bad. Like it's all flipped, and it's perfect. But do you think I should wait? That's what I'm asking.
I mean, you're not going to get much better. You're not going to get much better. I don't think we'll ever see twos in either direction.
No, but I'd like a plus 100. I'd like to give no vig to these fucking books.
Yeah.
You know, I would prefer that.
I don't think it's going to flip here and the Raiders move to favorites. I don't. I think the Raiders are going to stay here at +1, +1.5.
Jared TG says, would you say you are fading the Bears more than backing the Raiders?
Yes.
No, not me. I think I'm buying low on the Raiders and selling the Bears high. But the first thing I said was buying low. No, this is all hands on deck. We must succeed right away. And I think we can take advantage of the scores that happened last week. Look, the Commanders are a much better team. Mariota's, they all hand. I mean, I think I go to buy low first in this regard, then sell high. But I think that both work. And Mad Bear Pig says, "Are you betting this game or just capping it?" Sorry, no, I thought you meant like in my head, Man Bear Pig, I thought you meant like, are you not actually capping the X's and O's, but are you betting this game because you see it as taking advantage of what happened last week? And that would, if you were, and you weren't saying that, but that's what I think I'm sort of doing. I think that there's the X, and that's why, Birdie asked, what's the angle here with the Ravens Chiefs? Because, Troy gives you the X's and O's angle here. The angle is that in that game is that I think the Chiefs are the most predictable football team in the NFL. And that's all we look for in sports. It's what we look for in baseball. Who's the most predictable pitcher? What is someone that consistently offers the same gameplay? Here, it's a question mark with these two teams. But one team needs to win so badly and is just being embarrassed. And the other team's feeling pretty good about themselves. So the only concern I would have is are the Bears now moving in the right direction under Ben Johnson and are going to show that in Vegas? And that is a possibility.
I would say that the X's and O's would favor the Bears and favor the over, but the market would favor the Raiders and favor the under. And that would put me squarely on the under in the Raiders, and I wouldn't be looking towards the Bears.
Cheshire says, did you predict the last minute of the first half? Well, of course, we were all so invested in the double result. But I could tell you, if somebody said, how do you think the Chiefs get into scoring position? Troy and I would have fought each other to say, flag.
Yeah.
Right? We would have said that without fucking...
I'll tell you what I wouldn't be able to predict, a Harrison Bucker missed 40-yard field goal. That definitely wouldn't have been any type of my prediction.
All right, so I'm going to be on the Raiders. I kind of want to see what happens with this market, honestly, because if this line moves back to the Raiders, I should probably have more than a unit on it. But then I guess I could bet it now and decide if I want to add, because you guys are saying it's not going to move. I hate, if there's a chance to not give vig, I would like to not have to do that. So, but I'm going to be on the Raiders. Which it makes me sick to say it, but I just like the situation. Let's move on to Sunday Night Football right here, our live stream on Pub Sports Radio. Join us at 7:20 p.m. Eastern. Troy and I will get it started. AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Packers 2-1, 0-1 on the road. Cowboys 1-2, 1-0 at home. God, I wish this was Ravens Chiefs, man. Let's get into the line history here for the Sunday Nighter. Green Bay's -7, -105. The look ahead was 4.5. It came out on Sunday night at 6. It was 6 at a pick'em and moved 6.5. And then moved back to 6 and back 6.5. Now it's a 7. So it's a 2.5 point move towards the Packers from the look ahead. It's a 1 point move since it came available on Sunday. Let's take a look at the total here. From a total perspective, we have a 47. The look ahead was 49. It opens up Sunday night at 49, and it's dropped to 47. It's interesting. It's important to know that the look ahead and where it opened, knowing that CeeDee Lamb was not available, is still 49. The sharp action has brought it down to 47, not injury information. When we get to the cash flow here for our Sunday nighter, 91% of tickets, 90% of cash on Green Bay, 62% of tickets, and 66% of cash on the under. When we break down the Sunday nighters, it's also to begin our plan for how we're going to attack it live. Is there an SGP we're going to be looking for? Because obviously I don't like this game just from starters. Packers coming off suffering their first loss of the season, 13-10 at Cleveland. Who in their world wouldn't gravitate towards the Packers here? Everybody, right? I mean, you have Micah coming back. I mean, it's such a big deal for Parsons to come back. I mean, all roads point to the Packers, but we know that these books make all of their money off of the public all being on one side. Now, does this line close at 9 or 8.5? Do the books start showing concern? Because even this line, first look, is like, shouldn't it be more than this? The Browns scored all their points in the last 3 minutes and 38 seconds of the game. The last time the Packers had a collapse like that was in 1967. The Packers led 10-0 before Johnny Unitas threw 2 touchdown passes in the last 3 minutes to give the Colts a 13-10 victory. Exact same situation, 13-10 at Cleveland. This was 13-10 versus Johnny Unitas. Jordan Love was 18-25 for 183 yards, touchdown and interception. He also ran 4 times for 18 yards. The interception was the first turnover this year for Green Bay. Isn't that amazing? Marked the first time in 10 regular season starts dating back to last season that Love had been intercepted. That's extremely impressive. Matthew Golden led receivers with 4 catches for 52 yards. The Packers just don't have the weapons. Christian Watson's dynamite. Jaden Reed, these are the guys that stretch the defense. Watson, ACL, said Monday he expects to return to practice upon his window opening after this week. And Reed is on injured reserve, collarbone and foot injury. Josh Jacobs ran 16 times for 30 yards. The running game as a whole averaged just 2.6 yards per game. But look, we know that we don't expect the Cowboys to do that. The Browns had just done that to Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So we can put a line through those numbers, but the offense had 3.8 yards per play. I guess we should put a line through that as well. The Packers did go 10 of 18 on third down, but they were just 1 of 2 in the red zone. The pass rush had 2 sacks, but 10 quarterback hits, held the Browns to 4-13 on third down and shut them out for 56 minutes. Xavier McKinney had an interception. There are issues here. Right tackle Zach Tom, he missed the game against Washington due to the oblique strain. So he came back and he aggravated it on the first play. The Packers have said that Tom didn't suffer any additional damage to his oblique, but there's certainly, I don't think he'll be in the lineup here. Then you have guard Aaron Banks. He was injured late in the first half. He's listed as questionable this week, but he's been dealing with this groin injury for a long time. Then we have safety Javon Bullard. He left in the fourth quarter, concussion protocol. He was temporarily knocked out, so he's unlikely to play here. Defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt. He suffered a knee injury in the 13-10 loss, so he's considered day-to-day. The question's out whether he'll be in the lineup, but there's issues. Matt Eberflus did not enjoy his return to Chicago as the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Cowboys lose 31-14. Dak goes 31 of 40 for 251 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. CeeDee Lamb left with a sprained ankle. He's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks due to the high ankle sprain, but he's not being officially ruled out as far as I saw, unless that's happened tonight. But he's expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks. He wanted to come back in on Sunday. So, but they say it's a high ankle sprain, 3 to 4 weeks. Jake Ferguson finally did something. 13 catches for 82 yards, Pickens caught 5 for 68 in the touchdown. Javonte Williams ran 10 times for 76, caught 5 for 16. He's been better than I thought he'd be. Cowboys were just 3 of 11 on third down, 1 of 4 in the red zone. The defense looked awful again. The pass rush was non-existent. 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. It's a problem. They allowed the Bears to put 6.9 yards per play, 9 of 15 on third and fourth down. Bears went 2 of 3 in the red zone. The Cowboys are banged up. Trayvon Diggs with the shoulder injury, Kenny Clark with an ankle injury. They both got hurt during the game. They're listed as questionable this week. Deron Bland, their cornerback, was inactive. He's again listed as questionable. And their guard, Tyler Booker, was diagnosed with a high ankle sprain. Remember, they already lost their center, Connor Beebe. A lot of injuries here. Is this as easy as it looks, Troy? Just bet the Packers because the Cowboys are trash? Because NFL doesn't usually work like that.
No, it's really tough. Really tough game. I'm just going to give you – I do have the Packers. I talked about the teaser I'm on with the Packers and the Texans. I think it's a clearly defined market. I mean, when you're home, especially when you look at primetime games, when home team is a dog on primetime of over 6 points, the road team is 6-6 ATS, so just 50-50, but undefeated straight up. And the Packers on a teaser is really the only way I'm going to look in this matchup. I'm thinking about parlaying something money line with the Packers. I believe the Packers are a Super Bowl contender. They're off a loss against the best defense in the NFL. Now they travel on the road, prime time against one of the worst defenses, likely the worst defense in the NFL. You got Jordan Love, who loves to play against zone coverage, against Eberflus, who only plays zone coverage. I see a Swiss cheese defense, once again, from this Cowboys team. You got Parsons returning to Dallas, and the market is signing off on moneyline teasers. So I think the only way I could recommend anything in this game, because I do see a lot of neutrality on the total as well, would be just tease the Packers. The public, I know is very public, but this is a spot that I think is going to be successful in the long run. Is just using the Packers as a teaser leg. You can get all into the X's and O's you want. Like, you cannot make a case for this Cowboys defense. You cannot make a case for this Cowboys offense. The only thing I would say to that is, well, then why is it 7 points? Shouldn't we see a bigger number? But we don't see big favorites on the road laying this big a number very often, So tough game, ATS. Packers win.
Packers double results -110. I mean, isn't there something fishy about that?
Yes. So
is it not appeal to you?
No.
Because it's just too public and something's up. Is that why?
Yes. Packers win, Cowboys cover. That's what most of this market is telling me. It's clear.
Yes, but wouldn't the double result still cash, or does it feel like the Bills double result against the Dolphins?
It feels like the Bills double result against the Dolphins. I just don't feel comfortable with anything else but the Packers on the money line.
It's such a strange game. I mean,
it's hard to even get into because there's no case you can make for this Cowboys team. You can't make a case other than, I like the number's big or the number's short. Yeah, it's just not enough. It's just not enough for me.
Spenny says Giants and Bears put up 37 and 31 on Dallas. You're telling me Packers aren't putting up 30 plus? Londo, I can show you how incredibly successful double results have been, but you need to be in the spot that you really believe in, and one that doesn't feel really public and fishy. Like, look at the one that lost. Now, we didn't individually bet the Bills double result, remember, because that was -210. We just used it with the Chiefs to get a +100. Huh. Yeah, this seems so easy, but it probably is not going to play out like that. I mean, remember how high the Cowboys were flying before the Packers came in the playoffs and annihilated them. That was one of the craziest first wild card games I've seen. Packers come in and destroy them in AT&T
I was
Stadium.
on them too. I was on them. That was one of the only playoff games I won that year.
Oh, Cheshire Cat says, yeah, but you don't know the Chiefs. I know them enough that they fatten my bankroll up tremendously. And that's all I need to know them. I don't need to know them better than that. Just fatten up my bankroll and make it look like capping is easy. That's what the Chiefs have done for me. Let's roll on. We have a double header Monday night live stream. And get ready for 6 hours of football right here on Pub Sports Radio. It's not quite that because this is, I'd prefer if the game started at 7:15, the second one started at 10. I don't care if we stay up late. But these games, the first one starts at 7:15, second one starts at 8:15. But let's talk about number one of the Monday night double dip. New York Jets 0-3, 0-1 on the road. The Miami Dolphins 0-3, 0-1 at home. We're at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. 82 Fahrenheit chance of showers, 7-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history for our Monday nighter. This total is a 45. It's 45. Opened up at 44, and the look ahead was 44.5, and then it actually dropped to 43.5 because it came out pretty early, of course, because the Dolphins were in the Thursday nighter. But then it came out again on Sunday night at 44, and now it's a 45. So it's gone up a point in the total. That makes sense to me. It makes because the Jets are just playing in much higher scoring games than I had expected them to, and I lost my shirt on the unders in Tampa. We have a 3 for the Dolphins. The look ahead was 2.5. Then it comes out on Sunday night at 2.5. And now it's a 3. It's a 3 at plus money for the Dolphins. It's a minus 120. It's juiced if you like the Jets at plus 3. Let's go into the cash flow here for our first Monday night. 62% of tickets on the Jets, 64% of cash on the Jets. And then we'll go into Action Network to give us, because that's all we're getting from the board. So Action Network telling us that 51% of the tickets are on the Dolphins and 74% of the cash. I want the Dolphins, but I wanted to talk it out. Like I wasn't bullish here. We have 38% of tickets on the over and 45% cash, and this line's moving towards the over. I'm surprised it opened at such a low number. I feel like that this could have opened up at 45.5, moved to 46 or something like that. It was opening up at 43 now for 44 after we've seen both teams playing such high-scoring games. Both teams' defense is not as strong as we thought. It's fishy. The Jets coming off a wild 29-27 loss at Tampa, where their fourth quarter comeback came just short. They've started 0-3 for the third time in 6 years. Robert Saleh opened his coaching career 0-3 for the Jets in 2021. Adam Gase in 2019. Lou Holtz in 1976. And now Aaron Glenn in 2025. Tyrod Taylor in for the injured Justin Fields played well. He looked good. 26-36, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. He also led the Jets in rushing with 8 carries for 48 yards. He did lose a fumble. Breece Hall continues to struggle on the road. On the ground. 9 carries for 21 yards. I mean, he did catch 4 passes for 31 yards, but he's just not being nearly as good as we thought he was going to be. Garrett Wilson led receivers with 10 catches for 84 yards, touchdown. The offense was just 4-14 on 3rd and 4th down, but went 2 of 3 in the red zone. The defense tightened up in the red zone where they held the Bucs to just 1 of 5. They also held the Bucs to 4 of 13 on 3rd down, but the pass rush was very quiet. 1 sack and 2 quarterback hits, and now their linebacker Quincy Williams injured his shoulder in the first half and didn't return. He's dealing with a shoulder injury. He's listed as questionable this week. Dolphins coming up their 3rd straight loss to start the season, falling 31-21 at Buffalo. They've lost 14 of 15 to the Bills. They've lost 7 straight, including the playoffs. And they've opened 0-3 for the first time since 2019. But they look pretty good. They look pretty good in that game. McDaniels is 8-13 since that wild card, since they made the playoffs in 2023. Wild card loss to Kansas City. Tua Tagovailoa was 22 of 34 for 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. The offense just doesn't look right. Tyreek Hill led receivers with 5 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown. Devon Achane had 12 carries for 62 yards, caught 7 for 29. The offense did a lot of good things. Imagine going 11 for 16 on 3rd and 4th down and a perfect 3 for 3 in the red zone and losing by double digits. Now that, fumbles, and it probably shouldn't have worked out that way, but it did. The defense put them in a position to win the game and looked much better. But the pass rush was quiet. 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. They continue to struggle in the red zone. They allowed the Bills to go 3 for 4. I want the Dolphins here. I like that they have extra prep and extra rest. Both teams are in a must win. And I'm hesitant here to trust the Dolphins as I did in week 2. And they burnt me badly against a weak Patriots squad. Take it away, Troy. Jets, Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida.
This is one game I didn't get too in depth like I would really want to. This is a game we have some time on. We have until Monday. We can let this market develop. Where are we going to close? 2.5, 3? Is it going to get outside of those two numbers? Because I don't really think it is. I think we're going to see this close minus 2.75, minus 3 at some shops, minus 2.5 at some shops. And in division on prime time in this case, I would say the Jets are very live based on history. I don't feel comfortable backing the Jets. I continue to back the Jets week after week. Last week, I was pretty fortunate, very fortunate to get the cover in that game. And it's really hard to want to go back to the ball with them. And how am I going to feel backing the Dolphins after what they did to me in week 2, after how they've looked through the first 3 weeks of the season? Now, they did have that great performance last week on prime time against the Bills. So that is progress from what they were doing. Really tough game. It's just not a game I feel comfortable with. Still a lot of questions. I've been talking about the cancer on the Dolphins, and there's a cancer on the team we're going to talk about next as well. I don't find this game appealing at all. Not in any sense of the word. Like, not the total, not the side. I don't know what to expect from the Jets. The Jets defense fall from grace. It's been just clear as day. I'm just not interested in this game, Jimmy.
Well, I know you, and I know you're going to bet it. It's going to take a few days for you to find how you're going to bet it. These standalone games.
I want to bet the Dolphins. I want to bet the Dolphins.
Do you agree with our guy Room to Run? He says the line shows the books are afraid of Jets +3. That's the play when you look at the numbers and what the books are offering. Do you agree that they're hesitant to put out because there's no threes there's no flat threes?
See, that's where I really don't know, because I feel like I have a very good feel of where a line should be and when a line's shaded one way or the other. And in this case, I do not get that feeling. So right off the top, I feel kind of lost in the handicap.
My concern, and I think that we can I think I can get past it, because is this not a buy high spot on 2 0-3 teams? Isn't it a buy high spot on the Jets as well as the Dolphins? Because the Dolphins looked so much better against the Bills than we had expected. And the Jets came all the way back and almost beat the Buccaneers.
I don't know, because the Jets still lost that game. And if anybody knows anything about football, they didn't really after that pick 6. I mean, I thought I was doomed on the spread. I don't even get a good feel. I can't even answer that question, Jim.
I mean, I feel like the Dolphins, if you looked at their roster at home against the Jets roster, you would rush to put money down on the Jets. Clearly, we think there's some issues with McDaniel. We think there's some issues with inside the locker room. They should not have got rid of Calais Campbell. I mean, this guy is such a team player. He makes people fight for him. This 38-year-old, he was you don't want to lose these heart and soul guys. But don't you think roster-wise, Dolphins at home, that you'd want to back them here at 2.5? Yes. What is it that you don't trust, McDaniel?
I don't trust what I've seen from the Dolphins after what they were in weeks 1 and 2, and then what they were on prime time against the Bills as massive dogs. I don't trust the Jets after what we've seen from their offense in week 1, and then the lackluster offensive performance we've seen in week 2 and week 3. I see the Jets defense, and I see them as being a fully capable defensive unit with a coach that should be leading them in the right direction, not being able to do so. I do see I really don't know. This might be the first game I leave alone. I'm going to end up having a bet in this game. I know I will. So
we don't need to force it. Do you feel like the 2.5 is setting people up to back the Dolphins?
I can't answer that question. I can't answer that question because I don't even know where I would price this number. It would probably be a 2.5, 3. I feel like the number's pretty spot on.
And with how high scoring the games that we've seen these teams be a part in, 45 is pretty low. I think that the more I sit with it, I fear that the line is set up to get people to back the Dolphins -2.5 and to bet the over.
Well, if anything, I think the under is making the most sense to me.
But I just got crushed. I've been losing on unders. God, dude, go back to Jets Steelers week 1. First half full game under, loss. Then week 3, first half under, full game under in the Bucks, Jets loss. Huh. All right. And Room to Run says Jets +3 to MGM is -130. Says MGM is a good book that has good lines usually, so they're definitely aware of the Jets +3. It does make you want to tease it up and tease the Cowboys up. Okay, so no action for us at this point, but man, we are going to be talking about this game a lot, and we will have our live stream popping off 7:20 p.m. Eastern. Oh my God, it's going to be much earlier than that, isn't it? Because we'll be at 6:15. So let's roll. Next up for us, our final spot on the Week 4 card, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Cincinnati Bengals 2-1, 1-1 on the road at the Denver Broncos, 1-2, 1-0 at home. Empire Field at Mile High, Denver, Colorado, 74 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 4 mile per hour winds. Going to the line history for this one, we have the exact same 44 that we've been talking about throughout today's show, it seems. The look ahead was 44.5. It opens up Sunday night at 45.5, and it drops to 44. So it's a 1.5 drop since it came out on Sunday night. Pretty big drop towards the under. On the spread, we have Denver -7 at -118. The look ahead was 6. Comes out on Sunday night at 7.5, flat 7.5. At that point, the action came in on the Bengals. You can still find 7.5s. You can still find 7s if you wanted Denver -7, you get it -118, and there's other books that are -113, -115s, so you can still get it. We get to the cash flow here. We'll probably have to look at a couple different spots. Here we have 65% of the ticket, 78% cash on Denver, and then we'll have to go over to action to get more info here. The action is telling us that 43% of the tickets and 86% cash on the Broncos. 70% tickets, 66% cash on the under. Jim Dewigger looking at Cincinnati +7. Fireside looking at the under and says Broncos by 20. Bengals coming off a disastrous 48-10 loss at Minnesota. Offense only managed 171 total yards. Browning was 19-27 for 140 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. Both interceptions were returned for touchdowns by Isaiah Rodgers. Burrow will be out for 3 months. His injury could be season-ending. Sucks. Jamar Chase caught 5 passes for 50 yards. At least I don't have futures on him because this is the second year in a row I haven't had futures on the Bengals. And may I live the rest of my life without futures on the Bengals because it's cost me in the past. Obviously, you can imagine what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson are capable of. Chase caught 5 passes for 50 yards. He's not going to be happy this year. He also ran once for 9 yards and lost a fumble. The Bengals could get nothing from their run game. What the hell happened to Chase Brown? 10 carries for 3 yards. Bengals got 53 yards on 21 rushes. So through 3 games this year, listen to this. This is horrific. Through 3 games, the Bengals have run 61 times for 147 yards. Horrible. 3 of 11 on third down, 1 red zone opportunity. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, but the defense could get no stops. They allowed Carson Wentz to go 4-5 in the red zone. Samaje Perine left in the second quarter. He fumbled. So it was a 3rd consecutive Bengals possession. They lost a fumble. And they said he escaped serious injury. He hasn't been ruled out yet. Then tight end Noah Fant had the ball ripped out of his hands by Rodgers, set up a second return. He entered concussion protocol. Left guard Dalton Risner missed time to an injury. And Taylor said he could have come back in, but it was just the score was out of whack, so they didn't bother bringing him back. And then they didn't have Cam Taylor-Britt, who had the hamstring injury. He's listed as questionable. And they didn't have defensive end Shamar Stewart, who's dealing with ankle injury. They were both inactive. Broncos coming off their second straight last-second loss, 23-20 to the Chargers at SoFi. The offense put up 5.5 yards per play and only had 9 first downs. How the hell does that happen? 5.5 yards per play and 9 first downs. They went 2 of 13 on third down. That begins explaining it. Bo Nix was 14 of 25 for 153 yards and a touchdown. Cortland Sutton caught 6 for 118 and a touchdown. Rest of the team had 8 catches for 35 yards. That's it. J.K. Dobbins ran 11 times for 83 yards touchdown against his former team. The Chargers got what they needed to in the most important moments of the game. Chargers finished with 376 yards, 8 of 17 on third down. The defense did strengthen in the red zone. They held the Chargers to just 1 of 3. The pass rush applied pressure all night. 5 sacks, 14 quarterback hits. Brandon Jones had an interception. So are the Broncos a powder keg type spot that will explode here? What did you need to see? Do you need to see a 7.5 or an 8? Is this the double result that the other 7-point favorites haven't interested in us? Interested us in? Take it away, Troy, my friend. Bengals Broncos.
This market is very similar to how I viewed the Seahawks market. I am good with this number at 7. I am good with 6.5. I'll start getting heavily concerned if we start seeing 6s in the market, and I doubt we ever get there. But at 7, I like it. I like it. This is a case where I would prefer to bet the 7 than the 7.5. And now a double result does make a lot of sense. This is the powder keg, in my opinion. Broncos coming off back-to-back losses, 1-2 on the season. Bengals are 2-1, but should be 0-3. Broncos are 6-1 ATS, 7-0 straight up as home favorites with Bo Nix, covering big numbers in that sample. The Broncos' offensive line will dominate the Bengals' defensive front. Everyone but Hendrickson on the defensive front is grading out in the bottom 10%. And on the vice versa, the Broncos' D-line will dominate the Bengals' offensive line. The only player on the offensive line that has a grade above average is Orlando Brown. The Bengals are going to be one-dimensional in this football game because they cannot run the football. The worst run blocking grade in the past 5 years. They're 32nd in the NFL. And Jake Browning is much better suited versus zone coverage. He's going to be getting a lot of man coverage and a lot of pressure, and his offensive line is grading out 26th in the pass blocking category. I think the Bengals have a bad offensive scheme, a lingering cancer, and a pretty shitty backup quarterback, in my opinion. I have not bet it yet, but I'm looking to back the Broncos, and I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do it. Obviously, I'm going to probably pair. There's just so many options with these favorites, with teasers. I'm trying to slam on the brakes a little bit because I just want to parlay all these teams' money line and all this stuff. I just want to be more calculated with what I'm going to do before I move. But Broncos double result might be something I can move on tonight.
So the Bengals just get completely annihilated. And obviously that's not the spot you want to fade them the next week. Is that part of your hesitancy? Is that we just watched them lose by 38? Or the fact that the Broncos have lost twice in a row on the last second of the game, does that trump all that?
That's what's trumping all that. That's exactly how I feel about it. The Broncos losing those 2 games, in both games that they could have easily won, coming home, like you call them. I'm using that term quite frequently lately. The powder keg. I love it. I think they are a powder keg this week, and I think they're going to deliver an ass whooping to this Bengals team.
So tell me about this. 35% of the tickets have come in on the Bengals. What is that angle? That Nix is not mentally there. We had Mel come in, Mel from Denver, a sports capper from Denver, and she said, if you're going to talk about anybody being trash, the person you talk about is Bo Nix.
Bo Nix has been terrible. I've been talking about that. If anything, that's my hesitancy is Bo Nix, and I think that our guy Peyton is not catering to him right now.
So that would be the angle for the 35% of tickets that have come in on the Bengals, because it's just not dumb money. We know that on 6 days before the game, 7 days before the game, backing a team that just lost 48-10.
Yeah.
So they're saying it's simple here that Bo Nix should not be this big of a favorite. He's seeing ghosts.
Yeah, that's the angle. It's fading Bo Nix in this Broncos offense.
And Cortland Sutton being the only viable option that we're seeing. I mean, we have a Broncos team that Cortland Sutton caught 6 passes for 118 yards and a touchdown. The rest of the team had 8 catches for 35 yards. So is that enough to get you not to bet the Broncos at -7?
That's not enough. I'm going to be on the Broncos. I'm going to put it all behind me. I think this Bengals defense is horrendous. I think the offensive line is horrendous. I think Browning is horrendous. I don't like betting favorites, but this is one I'm going to have to be on.
And there's Mel. She says, don't overthink it. Packers Broncos teaser. Tease them both to -1. Bo Nix is terrible, but the Bengals are worse. From our friend Mel. Well, I guess the Broncos double result needs to be a bet. I'm just trying to figure out if I should also be on the -7. It's a pretty, I mean, these are the spotlight games, Sunday night and Monday night. You really got to treat us like that? Spenny says it's one game and they get an awful Bengals defense they will throw around on Cincy. Okay. Well, I guess I probably want the Broncos double result in my pocket. It's not that expensive. It's more expensive than all the other 7s. Fireside says the issue with the Pack is they are on the road as big favorites. I pumped the brakes out of division. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Well, there's still a lot of work to do, which is part of the fun. It is part of the fun here that this is the base, and then we attack. I always make a lot of bets tonight. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to save a lot more to make. My add-ons, my additions, Troy, this past week, my additions Friday, Saturday, Sunday were monstrous. And it hadn't been working that way for me. So I would like to, when I marinate with these spots for 4 or 5 days, to have winners. And all of the additions were bangers. The additions that I added, they weren't all. I take that back. So on my additions, I went 5-2. I did not true, because Raiders were added too. God, I gotta look in this more. So my additions went. You're right, 6-4. Not so good. Okay. Sometimes as a gambler, you can have the cup half full kind of thing. Think you're doing a little bit better than you're actually doing. That's why it's so important to track everything. Wow, Coin sees Denver double result at -165. You can bet that right now at -138. Bet 365. I guess that should be bet immediately.
Yep, I'm taking Broncos double result as we speak, and -138.
Okay, let's get this written down. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us.
Also, Jimmy, I also moved on the Rams -3. You can get -3 right now at Bobaba, -120.
Okay, Rams -3 up here. That game is at 4:05, right? Sorry, I was trying to get to it here. Rams Colts in LA. So you're already on the over 48 and the over 49. Now you're on the Rams -3. And what was that, Juice?
-120.
All right, let's review all action here on Bankroll Blitz Week 4, Season 3. Thank you guys for rocking with us. We're coming off a great week. The first week, we had a great week. Second week, we gave a bunch back. So let's just stay in our shoes and start stacking winning weeks. Troy, get started. Actually, I'll let Troy drop his action here. So I'll let you guys know my plan. I'm very interested in the under in Dublin. And I think I get there. Then I want the Falcons badly. But I want Jaden Daniels to be announced as in. And I think that happens. And if it doesn't, I'll deal with the consequences. But I really want a better number, and I don't. So that's the plan. I am going to make a bet that I don't usually make. And again, I'm learning from watching other cappers and watching Troy and tracking everybody. And so the last week's Buffalo, Seattle, Kansas City was, an important unit of money. And here I'm going to tease the Bills to either 6.5, probably 6.5 and add the Cook anytime touchdown. He scores the touchdown. He holds the franchise record for consecutive games with a touchdown. I think Josh Allen cares a lot about having his teammates, exist in the record books. And then the under in Saints Bills, I'm very, very interested in. I'm going to bet the Lions double result. It's very expensive. It's minus 150. I want things to be expensive. I'm also interested in the over. I want to study that longer. Then the Patriots double result. We talked about it here on the show. Troy bet it. I'm going to be betting it tonight. Then I'm off of Chargers Giants. I want to study the Eagles Buccaneers game. I have Eagles written down here, but I want to study it longer and spend more time with it. But that's where I'm leaning. Then is it the Titans team total under or the full game under in Titans Texans? It's 38, so low. I don't think I bet that tonight. I want to sit with it. The Rams Colts game, I'm definitely going to sit with. First half over, full game over in Jacksonville, San Francisco. It makes me a little nervous from an X's and O standpoint, but the market is bullish, and I should just ride it. Then the Ravens are the only bet I came in here with. Exuding confidence. Ravens minus 2.5, minus 120. Ravens double result plus 162. God, I wish that was our Sunday nighter. Then the Raiders. Do I bet that tonight? I certainly talked myself into it. After that fucking breakdown, I can't be, I don't think I will. I have to bet it now, and I will. And then Broncos double result, and that's my card at this point. As you can hear, all the double results. If you guys want me to ever pull the double results out that I've moved on to CFL and college football and NFL, I can have that for you guys as well. Troy Torrence, my man, take it away. Your action for week 4 of the NFL.
Yeah, so I'm kicking it off with Seahawks money line in the Thursday nighter, and I got Seahawks 7.5, Falcons plus 8.5. I got that there. Okay. Then I get to the Vikings in the London game, or I don't know if it is London, minus 2.5. The Vikings minus 2.5. I got the Falcons money line plus 112. I added the Patriots double result at plus 105. I got the Cardinals Seahawks under 43.5. I don't know why this is out of order. Cardinals Seahawks under 43.5 minus 110. I doubled up on the under in Bucks Eagles 44 and 44.5. I added the Rams minus 3 at minus 120. I got the Rams Colts. Probably my favorite bet of the week is this Rams Colts over, which I got 48.5 and 49. I got the Ravens minus 2.5, and I plan on adding to that some way, shape, or form, be it a money line parlay, be it the double result. Likely the double result at plus 160. Haven't moved on it yet. The Packers minus 1, Texans minus 1, teaser, and the Broncos double result minus 138. There is still probably a lot of two-leggers that I'm going to be betting that I haven't bet yet. I just got to map it out.
We also have bye weeks that begin next week. So the 3.5-hour shows will be a thing of the past, I hope. But I love capping with you guys so much. Shout out to all you guys. We do. Ron Young, Man Bear Pig, D Jenkins, Dougie Wise, AM, Big Daddy Boom, Harold Williams, Mel, Fireside, Rick T, Coin, Vincent Hawkins. Vincent Hawkins was so bang on. Some of your calls last week, you were trying to get me off for the Raiders, and you nailed that, Vincent Hawkins. Spenny Penny Bombs, thank you for rocking with us. Tell me you didn't just say that. Sky, so many great cappers here. It's great having Susie Easton rocking with us. Londo, Gorky, thank you for the donos. WT, thank you for the donos. All you guys for supporting the show means so much. Room to Run, it's great hearing your angles. Jim Dewigger, my man. Ronnie Crawford, we talked about your spreadsheet play of the day. And I should worry because it is our guy Man Bear Pig said almost blew out the speakers. I should worry about that when we play that. And I apologize for that. Lucky Power, thank you guys so much for rocking with us. Slatsy, Birdie. It's great. Thank you to our producer who works nonstop behind the scenes and barely sleeps and is always open to creating and helping us cut things and just being a team player. So thank you so much to you, Jose Bouquet. And Troy Torrance, I am so thankful and honored to be working with you each week. You inspire me, and you also are probably I'm gonna live a longer life because of my friendship with you. I've been trying to exercise and run and follow in you and Wine Time's footsteps because we're so stationary for so long, and so you've inspired me in several different ways. Troy Torrence, any last words for the Capper Sporting Show?
Likewise, Jimmy, you've inspired me, and the database would not exist if it weren't for Jimmy the Bag. I just want to give you your props. I always do. You're the man. Thank you for leading this community, because I hear you reading off those names. And I'm just like, what a bunch of fucking dogs in the chat. What a dog backstage right now. The producer, Jose Bouquet, who cashed on the Mets to my dismay. My Cubbies taking L. Glad he got that cash. As long as we get this cash this week in the NFL, let's build upon what we just did this past week. I think we will. It's a great slate. Hey, Pub Sports Radio, the best damn community in the industry. Now it's time to get out there and leche los bookmakers.